and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four superstars have chill discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog to distract themselves from the inevitable passage of time and their own rapidly waning ability to relate to the youth. I'm CyberLink.
I'm Jeremy the Sungazer.
I'm Faulerro the Hunter.
And I'm RockTheJake. Or am I Jake the Rock?
The world may never know.
Yours already works, Jake.
Pardon me while I have an existential crisis over here.
And existential crisis over.
Sorry, that just reminds me I was listening to Old Rocher Hotel and I was like, oh yeah, we really did treat Jake like he was an actual rock in the stories for a while.
Yep.
Like, literally, you died at one point and Kagi's like, who fucking cares? He's a rock!
It's part of the lore.
Yep.
Man.
Do rocks really die?
Old rocks don't die, they just lose all their rings. And speaking of which, we've got another new Sonic game that has come out post this start of this podcast, which is still weird every time it happens.
Yep.
And
Yay! Woo,
Best timeline
yay.
so far.
Hey, you're welcome, Internet.
You're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome? That's from The Rock right here.
Oh, that's good, actually.
Aha! Oh, trust me, though, we've got a lot to say about this one because we are talking about the newest Sonic game as of time of recording, Sonic Superstars.
Woo!
We're going back to the classic era.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah!
Meow,
Yeah,
meow,
but-
meow, meow, meow. Wait.
No. Well,
No.
Well,
we'll get into it.
I like how we stopped ourselves and then immediately had to start ourselves up again.
Y'all might have to rein me in because I have a conspiracy theory about that. Okay. It's gonna sound crazy, but
Did you guys
I will
bring your
take a
tinfoil
bullet.
hats?
Yes.
What kind of podcasters would we be if we didn't tout conspiracy theories?
I think Sonic's in the water.
Wait, conspiracy theories about me?
No, you're just paranoid. He knows.
So yeah, we've got a new classic Sonic game, and it's we have thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I will say up front. It's not Sonic 4 for the most part.
You know what else? It's not Sonic Mania either. But
Yes. Although I do, I do think that's a good setup to go into, like, the development history of that. Is this did start, this is according to Iizuka himself, Sonic franchise producer guy, who's been crucified and risen by the Sonic community. I feel like several dozen times over the past few years. He is but a man, I will say. This did start up as a follow-up to Mania involving Christian Whitehead and Evening Star, their development team that has now gone on to develop Penny's Big Breakaway, which continues to look great. If I am reading it correctly, like, they came up with a prototype. They wanted this to be like, hey, let's continue this classic branch of Sonic games, and didn't end up going forward with that specific prototype, but like enough of that work stayed on to where, like, there is a special thanks to Evening Star in the credits of this. So, like, Sonic's, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say, for real, officially, Superstars would not have happened without, like, Mania and the people that worked on Mania.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, Mania not doing as well as it would have done, as it actually did, would have not. This never would have happened.
Yeah.
If that wasn't the success it was critically and I'm sure financially. But here we are.
I mean, geez, man, like, Origins probably wouldn't have happened if Mania hadn't been a home run.
That too.
I did think it was funny. Like the big thing I remember when this got announced was Naoto Oshima has returned to making Sonic games after not for many, many years.
Not since the 90s.
And that came about because he and Iizuka were, like, having a drinking session over Zoom when they were locked down for COVID. And from what I understand, just basically said, like, hey, man, you want to make a Sonic game again? Sure.
Sorry, that's like the most Japanese thing ever. Having a session
over Zoom.
There's a Japanese businessman for you, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
The grand scheme was just to get the other guy drunk to get him part of another Sonic game. Sure, do whatever.
I can't remember where it's listed, but yeah, Arzest is like the company that Oshima is part of. They've done, I mean,
things.
Yeah. I remember when that was announced, people rightfully pointed out that charitably, like their titles could be described as mid.
Hey, listen, as I've not played it, but from everyone who has, I have heard that Balan Wonderworld is a game.
To be fair, I don't think the core issues with Balan Wonderworld were their fault.
I would not lay that at Oshima's feet because, he wasn't the one blacking out people's faces in portraits.
Oh,
when everyone... Speaking of scapegoats when it comes to Sonic things, I mean, we can't help it right now.
Yeah.
But luckily, we have the real creator of Sonic the Hedgehog on this game, so
I mean, Arzest did one of those Yoshi games on the DS, I believe. They did
Yoshi's New Island.
Yeah, they also...
The one with the weird honky music.
Oh, the farts. Like, we joked about, haha, Game Boy Advance music farts. No, that game, the music is literally made by, like, bleeding holes.
Oh my god.
New Island, developed by the company and led by Big Island, as he has referred to himself for a while. That's Naoto Oshima's because everyone went by nicknames back in the day, right? On the credits of video games.
Right.
Yeah.
He went by a literal translation of his family name, Oshima, Big Island. I always like that.
That's funny.
Cool.
I mean, look, to be fair, it seems like a lot of the stuff they've done is they assist on a lot of games. Like they worked on the portable versions of some of the Mario and Sonic Olympic games.
They developed Hey Pikmin.
Yeah, Hey Pikmin, which another, I had that game for a little bit and I, again, didn't finish it, but I would describe it as it's fine. But they did the giant battle sections in Mario and Luigi Inside Story, that remake, and stuff like that. And then they were the lead on Sonic Superstars with co-developing with Sonic Team.
I think most importantly, they made the Street Pass Me Plaza for the Nintendo 3DS.
Yes, oh, wow. I should have led with that.
If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have definitely 100% truly met Stan Lee. I definitely passed him. He definitely has a 3DS.
Oh man, sorry, just mentioning that summons memories of a convention. It's you're meeting everyone around you, but more importantly, you want to see them pop up on your Street Pass. That's what you're going for.
That's how I got what was that first year I went to Youmacon, Josh Keaton, passed by him in the hallway and got his me.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
We laughed about it. Oh, goodness. So, yeah, I remember when that was announced, okay, they made some, pretty middling portable titles, but especially after the Balan thing, I was again, that wasn't their fault, so was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt there, but...
Do you remember when this got, first announced, though? I remember seeing it pop up on Twitter, and I'm not sure what the general... even before the whole Arzest thing came out, I feel like that did temper people's expectations a little bit. But what was yours reaction to this, being announced when it first popped up in the little trailer?
Well, when I saw it announced, I was, actually genuinely, I don't want to say, super excited, but I was, intrigued, and I was actually looking forward to it, because I was oh, it looks, aesthetically it looks really good. Oh, you can do, 4-player co-op, couch co-op. That looks really fun, and... I just thought of positive possibilities. That's a tongue twister right there. Positive possibilities of what the game could be, and the possibility of being able to play it with somebody instead of just on my own.
Hey, we tried. Hey, just to pull the curtain
we
back.
Got a little bit.
We played a little bit with some of us. Did some of the battle mode. Did a little co-op. I also hope to, maybe in a potential revisit down the line, hope to play more of this with all of us.
Yeah, definitely.
There's 4 of us. You think we'd be able to do it, but timing, lives, being adults.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that this is not this is meant to be like a couch co-op game, not an online game to play with friends, so you have to
I think we
finagle your way through it.
The way we did it with our very spotty connections was probably not ideal, but we'll figure it out. I can say for myself, I was very open to the concept, but was a little like, okay, I just revisited Sonic 4 this year, and also that, was remembering like they somehow made the classic gameplay worse in Forces, so was a little bit on the fence until I did see someone immediately like compared frame by frame the footage to what was it, I think Origins and like the original version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I think all Christian Whitehead on Twitter did was like replied with a thumbs up to one of those, and I was like,
right.
Okay, well,
the kind of comparison only Sonic fans would make, to study to the very last minute detail to make sure the physics are 100% correct, what they remember, or everything is ruined. And to be fair, I agree.
I gotta say that I understand that perspective, and I don't disagree, but I just can't be that guy. I do want to say that, like, I saw someone when the game came out was like comparing. Oh no, I can't remember. They said I modded this thing back in, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. That was in the classic games. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I just not that guy. Same with like people going frame by frame on like Knuckles' gliding animations, and I'm like, okay, if as long as it's not as bad as, again, like saying like how they managed to make the classic gameplay worse in Forces versus Generations, as long as it's not something as egregious as that, I just can't pick it out. You know what I mean?
I am like the big classic Sonic fan nerd, and like this kind of stuff that people point out that is like different in this one, I'm just like, oh, okay. I didn't notice, but all right.
I'm not even harping on those people. I'm just saying I don't catch that stuff. Like, I have to have it pointed out. And then even when it is pointed out, I'm like, well, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't know that was an issue. Like, sometimes, like, still, people, you go through the issues people still have with the Origins collection, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm sorry. I am sorry if it ruins your experience. I understand, but I'm not that guy. So yeah, when this was first announced, I was a little trepid until I realized, oh, okay, this is obviously built off of like what Mania set up. So I am open to it.
I guess that's what they were working on I guess that was it. Like, one of the things they left with them is like, here is the precious code that you need to make Sonic play correctly, because you're sure as hell not going to get it from the original guy who made it.
No, goodness gracious. Please take care of this gift.
I just think, like, my initial reaction when I saw the trailer was this, oh, that looks cute. Not really what I wanted, because you know what I wanted? I wanted Mania but original, and technically this does it is technically because we saw it was like, oh, it's all new levels, they're not doing Green Hill this time, it's new things. I was like, that's technically what I wanted. I'm the kind of person who just thinks classic Sonic works best when he's like drawn, when he's a sprite.
Yeah,
and I know that's kind of nerdy, but
Yeah, but according to Izuka, 2D games do not sell as well as 3D ones.
And I'm sure there's actual statistics to back that up.
And that makes me sad.
Yeah.
I feel like that was, hey, speaking of crucifying Izuka, I think that was another statement that it's always hard to, like, when you have to remember, if he is making like doing an interview, making a statement in Japanese, that you have to be careful with how literal you take the interpretation. I understand what he was going for, and even if he truly like believes that, like you said, he probably does have like internal numbers saying like, oh, people are turned off by just sprites, and it's, you know, and you have to look at like the video games as a whole. It's like, I think we are entering a weird, odd thing where now retro sprites are associated with smaller indie games, and like, I don't know. I disagree with that statement on like an artistic value, that like, no, you can have Sonic Mania is beautiful, and you could do like 100 new classic games with that style. Yeah. For me,
I bet it's because somebody up top said we can't sell a pixel game for $60.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a big part of this, because boy howdy, did they charge out of the nose for this bad boy.
Yep.
Yeah, I did not buy any of that extra stuff, and I'm not interested in it because...
I did.
It just didn't seem... I mean, not only am I a broke-ass bitch right now, but it just didn't really appeal to me, especially once I started playing the game. I'm like... wow, all that extra stuff they were selling, would not have added anything to my experience.
I have all of the extra stuff. I wouldn't say I bought all of it, technically. Thanks, Steam screw up.
They put it was something, they put all of it on Steam, and you could download it for a couple hours. Oops.
Yeah, but it was just all up for free for about half an hour, and those of us who were waiting until midnight to download the game were like, oh, okay. Whoop.
Hey, no takebacks.
Exactly.
So I do, before we jump into our overall thoughts and impressions, I did want to point out that this was indeed like from Iizuka and like the development, like it seems like they do kind of want to continue this like classic Sonic line of games. And I believe Superstars has been fairly successful as far as sales goes, like despite everything. And they wanted this specifically to be like as different from Frontiers as possible. Like Frontiers, I believe he might have even used the term like developed like for video game players. And man, we gotta revisit that DLC to talk about gamer hard. But they wanted this to be, again, like the classic games, which are more accessible to like everybody and to like the children who are fans of Sonic, who we bring up a lot, are like still the main demographic for Sonic the Hedgehog, no matter how much we might inject otherwise during our various interpretations. And I mean, I think it succeeds in that in some ways. But yeah, the last thing is, this was, funny enough, was developed for about 2.5 years and was announced and released this year, 2023, which, yeah, that announcement trailer was what, June? And then, hey, we got it just a few months later in October.
So that was a nice turnaround. Sorry, Jeremy, it's just you mentioned that they wanted to try and make this as far from possible from Frontiers. It's funny that this has all 4 playable characters are in Frontiers, playable eventually. It's set on an island with Star in the title. And also there's a cool new female character that we really like, so... Yeah? But otherwise...
With a short bob haircut.
Hey, spoilers.
Hey, I mean, we are going to be talking spoilers here.
Hey, it's January, everyone. This is... Oh, by the way, first episode of the year. We forgot to mention that.
Yay!
Fuck you, it's January!
Yeah! That's how we're starting the new year, and the hill is always greener, by the way.
No, but yeah, like you said, we do have a bunch of playable characters that I'm really happy to see all together again.
Yes, we didn't realize Sonic Origins was setting us up for this, like, by having Amy be playable, the thing that we've been wanting for a long time. And
yeah.
Classic playable Amy. And here she is.
She's basically got her same moveset from Origins, except the hammer dash isn't really a dash.
No, it doesn't work the same way.
It just makes her like semi-invincible. And she's got a double jump now. Good for her.
Woo. Yes, good for her.
But yeah, Sonic basically has his Mania moveset with the drop dash. Tails, he's still got his flying butt going. Knuckles.
And he can swim.
Knuckles with, of course, yes. Knuckles with the punching and the gliding and climbing. And I just pull the ripcord. Hey, Trip, that cool character they showed. Hey, you unlock her and she's playable. She is a Sungazer lizard. She's adorable. She has vector spin dash and a double jump. Go women!
Yeah! Yeah, they need that. They needed that. That's what women have been asking for all these years, is a double jump.
I'll tell you what, we'll get to it, but yeah, Trip definitely needs that double jump through her story.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you know who else is returning? Fang the Hunter.
Who?
Which you'd know.
Yeah. Wait.
Oh, you know, that purple dude who maybe he also used to be a weasel and might have
you mean
been
Knack.
a sniper. No, Fang is back. Like, hey, he's been showing up in the comics and now he's back in a game. Look at him. I hate him. I want him dead.
Oh man, yeah, I was like, we're also happy to see this classic character back until we've played in his levels and his boss battles. No, go away now, actually.
Yeah. We did mention the story is quite light, but I enjoyed it's very much in tone with like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There's a little bit more here. It's told mostly in little interstitial animations, and there's some really great ones with Knack and Trip.
Wow.
But
You're already calling him Knack.
oh well, you put it in my head. No, it's
Listen,
Fang.
they have canonically determined that he does not use that name anymore because that was a fake name, just like all his other names. He's choosing to escape the law, which is, of course, it feels like, I don't know if Ian came up with it, but it feels like an Ian-ass thing to do here. It's to just like, hey, all those things are canon, but also we're calling him a different name now, and it makes sense.
Which I think that is plainly stated in the prologue comic, which was that Evan?
That was Evan, yes.
Yes, they wrote and and illustrated that, where he just straight up Fang says like, I've had a lot of names over the years, and
Hey,
no.
when you're a wanted criminal like me, you use all sorts of tricks to cover your trail.
Fair.
One of the names that Eggman name drops is Jet the Jerboa, and apparently, according to Ian Flynn himself, is a really big pull. Like, Jet was one of the names considered for Fang/Knack. Wow.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is in some. I've seen that. That is in some like ancient like video game magazine. It might have even been like a British Sega game magazine that identifies him as like, oh, we got a preview of the new game, the new Game Gear game with Jet the Jerboa, and man, yes, that is a pull. Very, very good. Yeah, the other thing they did prior to release is another animated short by Powerhouse Animation, which the Trio of Trouble, which is incredible, like really good. But I think Eggman is just, he's just bumming around some new island looking for some ancient artifact to give him the power to do whatever he's up to these days. But
absolutely fantastic, wonderful animation. Even better than I actually like the animation that's in the game, but there's something about the quality of the animation in this short that's just, it's gorgeous. The way the Marvelous Queen is animated, it's something special. The only thing that lets this whole short down, and this is a controversial statement apparently to a lot of people online, is it does feel like it's I'm not expecting these characters to have full conversations outside of comics, but there is something weirdly empty about not even having any noise coming out of the character's mouth. Eggman has got his mouth wide open as he's yelling at Knack. Fang.
Oh yeah.
See, I'm doing it now. And there's nothing coming out. Not like even in Mania Adventures, they've got like the little noises going on.
I really would like, if they're not going to, and look, controversial statement, can't remember if I've said it in the show, they should just let the classic characters talk. They talk in the comics. Just, find, fill in some actors for Fang. If you've listened to this show, you know how we'd like him to sound. I mean, sake, Sega, just call Scott up.
Do it for real.
But yeah, and it's not like I don't like the pantomime. I'm just like, you really, like you said, Adventures, the sound design, Mania Adventures, excuse me, had some little noises that stood in for Eggman's laugh. But I kind of wouldn't mind if there was some Mike Pollock grumbling for when he's yelling it. Or
Chow Space style,
Yeah, exactly. Like little bits like that. And I'm sorry, like I think the current cast could come up with classic voices that would fit just fine. They did it in Generations. Little classic Tails with his little baby voice.
Aww.
It worked. It worked just fine. So
yeah, that's the thing we forget. They did classic Sonic wasn't allowed to talk by legal mandate or whatever it was. That was their creative decision, I know. But Tails and Eggman, like classic ones, they were talking up a storm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, that is just there's nothing actually wrong with the animation. And I do want to point out the animation in game, which are several really, really nice. I mean, the only real criticism I would have towards it is I feel like the post-processing effects are a little much. The bloom, it's a little too bright. But it was done by, it's not TMS directly, but it's an animation studio affiliated with TMS. And it was directed by let's see, Toshihiko Masuda, who worked on Sonic X, like did some really good, boarded some really good episodes of Sonic X. I don't remember. I think it was episode 2, maybe 6, lots of ones in like that first run. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
The continuing trend of those TMS affiliations, like in Sonic cartoons.
Yeah. So I thought that was really neat. That was another thing that people were like tearing apart the intro animation.
God, I saw that.
People are the worst.
Oh, this is because they got one of those dang anime studios to do it. Like, well, okay.
I'm gonna
what are you
throw you
to
in the garbage.
That?
Yeah. Anyway, I did think that was very cool that it's a guy who worked on Sonic X, but yeah, so I guess with all that kind of brings us to the game itself. So let me shut up, y'all. Y'all tell me what you think.
Yeah, we're not going to go through it like zone by zone because this is a long game.
Yeah.
I guess that's how they make it worth these. Well, I don't know if it is worth the $60. I do like it, but you know.
Yeah. We'll get to that point. And not just boil it down to like, well, if you analyze it, that's X amount of dollars per hour. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about.
I'm just mad that I had to pay 55 quid for this thing. I got 9 of it back thanks to a pre-order thing, but it was just like, I like this game, but I remember Mania not costing this much. So maybe that's just what's stuck in my craw right now as I struggle to keep the lights on. But I need to play Sonic games.
And to its credit, Sonic Forces wasn't even $60. It was like $40 when it came out.
No, yeah, you're right. And I mean, because Frontiers was also full price at release, and that is a weird Sega thing. I think we might have talked about that in the past. Did they view like Forces and Mania did they view those as budget titles? I mean, Mania seems like the outlier as far as, we know that history, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like that's a larger discussion we probably can't have on this particular show of like, because I just saw someone bring up again, like, hey, here's a Toys R Us ad in America from 1996 and Super Mario 64 was $59.99. And that's almost like $80 in today's money. And I'm like,
Turok 2 was $75.
Oh my
gosh. Jesus.
But no, I also understand. I've already said earlier in the episode, I am a broke bitch right now. And it was less, as much as I do like Superstars, there was a little bit of like, well, yeah, I just blew the rest of this year's game budget on this one. And, whereas in the past I like, oh yeah, if this was $40, I might have picked up another title. But yeah, let's get to that probably in our closing recommendations.
That's just reminded me that I did end up buying Super Mario Wonder and I had a really good time with that so far. But
yeah, same here.
But also I'm like, oh no, my finances. But also, I'm going to have to talk about Mario Wonder at one point for comparison purposes, because, hey, guess what? They released this right before a Mario game. Wow, we're back in the 90s again, lads.
Which I will say, we mentioned, hey, this one took 2.5 years to develop, was probably on a schedule, whereas Nintendo has plainly said that, yeah, Super Mario Wonder was like we were just working on it whenever it was done, 5, 6, 7, whatever, 8 years. Fuck it. We're Nintendo. We can do whatever we want.
And they certainly do.
Yep.
But they made some nice games, though. Sorry, on the Sonic podcast, guys, it's really fucking good. It's so good.
All right. Okay. I do want to say, because I feel like when we were discussing this game in the weeks leading up to this recording, I want you all to push back on me when I say I am fairly positive on Superstars as a whole. I acknowledge all the problems I've seen people have with it. I don't think I like the bosses either. I really like just replaying these levels. Like after I finally made it through all of the true endings, and even before I tackled like Trip's story and like the true final boss, I just played through like the levels again as different characters because, okay, it kind of felt like, again, playing a true classic Sonic game to where I was like, okay, I got to make it through these once and I'll learn the layout and learn like, oh, there's a trap here. Oh, there's a pathway here I didn't go through. And especially switching to Tails and Knuckles and just all the characters, I was like, man, this just feels really nice. Like I will throw on a podcast and go through the time attack mode and just go through these levels. And I feel like that's probably my highest compliment is like, yes, I treated this like a true follow-up to the classic Sonic games. And I feel like aside from like, again, we got to get to those bosses because, man, they need some adjusting. I feel like if this was Sonic 4, like when that came out, if they managed to get this right back then, which again, you can't say hindsight and whatnot, man, I feel like this would just be universally praised. But instead, this is a follow-up to Sonic Mania, the, potentially best classic Sonic game since the originals.
Yeah.
Turns out if the bar was as low as Sonic 4, things would have been a lot better. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Is like... okay, so Sonic Superstars, for me... when I first put it on, I was not actually looking forward to this game that much. I knew I was going to get it. I knew I wanted to talk about it on the podcast. But for a new classic Sonic game, I wasn't really looking forward to it too much. I thought it's like, it looks fine, but it's not really what I want, even if, it's a new story, new stages and everything. That's kind of what we wanted from Mania 2. But when I first started playing it, though, I was like, I'm having a good time with this. It's obviously not like... It's not Sonic 4 in the sense of that it's not a continuation of the exact same classic Sonic formula. It's reminiscent of it, though. It feels like they took the idea of classic Sonic and they made their own thing out of it. And at first, I was really enjoying that. I was like swept up in it. But me and friend of the show, Jez M, were both people who were like praising the game right up until pretty much the end of it. And then when we got to the second part of the game, we were realizing, oh, actually, these cracks in the wall are a lot bigger than I thought they were. And my enjoyment kind of went down. So it's kind of weird that my first playthrough was like, yeah, I'm feeling relatively positive about this, and by the end I was like, oh, this game. Well, okay, I wasn't, but there were times when I was like that, and it was just in the moment, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like this weird mixed feeling that I have, leaning towards the positive, but also looking at it like, they shouldn't have done that, though. Many times over the course of the game.
I remember we got on a call one night just to like try to play together and just talk about the game before this podcast. And I remember it was just me and Luke at the time talking. And I also am pretty positive on this game. Overall, I really enjoy it. I think later on we can insert the audio from the video that I sent of the last boss with all of my malice.
The most malice I have ever heard in Jake's voice.
But so I was talking with Luke, and what I said to him was that like I've been overall positive on the game. Enjoy like the main core thing of playing as like the 4 main core characters, and Trip's really cool too. But there were times like within the levels where like a certain glitch would happen or a certain thing would like kill me that I couldn't even explain what happened. There's like a certain gear that turned in my head that I guess hadn't turned since like the early days of 3D Sonic, where I was just like, it made me sad for a second because I was like, oh yeah, I guess this is a Sonic game, and I don't want to have that thought.
Oh no!
I was like, I don't want to have that thought.
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean, though, as far as like, yeah, you're on a really good, because I had a few moments as well in this, and I hate to say, I was just telling someone on Twitter whose favorite 3D Sonic is Heroes, that I like parts of Heroes, but no, it was our Heroes Revisit that I got that exact feeling you're talking about, Jake, where you're like, oh man, I'm cruising, I'm having a good time with this, and then something happens, and especially with Heroes, it's more like, oh, it comes flooding back from like, when I first played this, like, oh yeah, this part really sucks, and you can get caught in a feedback loop. And okay, I feel like I should say this here. There are people who are rightfully like pointing out that a lot of the criticisms of this game aren't just like Sonic game criticisms. There are also criticisms that can be levied at like other games as a whole. And also like, again, like the development cycle of at the end of the day, I will probably say like, hey, Sonic Superstars is pretty good. It needs some quality of life patches and some things tuned up. And that happens to a lot of great games. Like that happens to, you know, like Spider-Man 2 is out, and I've heard that is a fantastic follow-up to that original one that also had quite a few issues that needed to be patched. And
man, I'm sorry to interrupt that. My our friend X the Dark One / Tommy T-Rex, boy howdy, he was really looking forward to playing Spider-Man 2. He was so happy to get it, and then that thing crashed his PS5.
Oh no!
And that's been happening to quite a few people. It is killing their PS5s because
it's breaking them.
Such a big game.
Oh man! See, that is and I know, like, man, sheesh. I don't want to get caught in a feedback loop here, but yes, just pointing out that like this does happen with video games, and this is not an argument like of, you know, like, oh well, back in the day, you know, you got a full game on a cartridge, because no, we just talked about how fucking expensive they were back then relatively, and hey, sometimes if you got a game on a cartridge and there was a, you know, a console breaking issue or a game breaking bug, there were no patches for that. Hey, remember the N64 expansion RAM? Like,
oh yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but saying like, I'm trying to, again, with my issues with this new Sonic the Hedgehog game, which is what this show is about, to at least keep them in like a perspective of it is not the only game in the universe that has these issues.
Yes.
It's just, you know, Sonic has a big fandom, and like, God bless them, sometimes the only thing they ever talk about is Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's true.
It's a little insular, but
big boss baby energy.
Yeah.
and you make a good point that like I'll even like, I will straight up admit right now, like the things that made me think, oh, this is a Sonic game in our modern world of gaming, they can be patched out and they can be fixed, and that makes me happy. And also,
yes.
And also joke time. I just want to like our discussion about Spider-Man 2. I just want somebody to make a graphic of like Sonic Superstars versus Spider-Man 2, and like you can just have like one comparison point of like Sonic Superstars bullet won't break your console.
Yeah. Won't break your PS5. Yeah, that's, oh man, I did not see that. I feel so bad.
This is actually, sorry, a nice transition to also mention, by the way, that all of us played this on different consoles.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
yeah, we sure did.
Well, in a manner of speaking, because Luke, you played the Steam version, right?
Yes.
I was on PS4.
I was on the Switch.
Yep, I did PS5, which I thought was interesting because I think y'all said even on PS4 and Switch had some like visual like issues and slowdown, and I gotta say, honest to God, hand on my heart, did not have any of those issues on PlayStation 5, which is, you know, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, hey, that's what I played it on and didn't notice it.
There are quite a few on my one, but one of them was good, and we'll get to that later.
I can't wait to hear. On the Switch, the only major visual glitch I had once was, luckily it wasn't even during gameplay, it was in like the overworld, like where you select your levels. Like for some reason I just fell through, and then I fell into the void, and I had to quit out of that. But yeah, it's like, it was actually really smooth on the Switch. I don't think I had any frame rate drops. The only other major glitch that happened, and I think we all experienced this, was sometimes like you would have dual audio playing for like a boss fight, and then just no audio after that.
That happened to me as well. I feel like that's probably first on their like fixes. That also happens like when you activate your super mode, which sometimes you can get the music overlapping, especially if you run out of rings. Although there's speaking now, there is currently a bug that lets you do super mode without using your rings. All you got to do is...
you told us about that.
Okay. Hey, for everybody out there, it's really easy to do. What you do, you select the superpowers after you unlock it by collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds. You jump hit your equivalent of the transform button, and then quickly, as soon as you see the character transform, hit L1 and R1 to quote unquote cancel it out, and you should drop to the ground, be transformed, and have no rings ticking down.
And this is the part of the podcast where Jeremy puts in a drop in as to whether or not that's been patched out by the time this comes out.
Yes, by the time this comes out. Absolutely. I have heard that, this is what I was going to say. I have heard, Jake, that the Switch is pretty stable. I think it is only at 30 frames per second compared to the other consoles, but that it's pretty stable.
Well, you know what? I have my Switch right behind me right now. Let me check it real quick. But you guys keep talking.
One of the weirder things I encountered, I encounter a lot of those same bugs. One that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is that whenever I use so there's a lot of different DLC skins for this game, and one of them is like comic book style skins where everybody is cel shaded. It looks really good, and it's how you get them is super weird. I don't even want to get into it. It's like some weird store exclusive thing that nobody even knew about, but I managed to get them when they were, available for free for that nice little half hour, except when I go into certain things, it will just randomly, the characters will all turn silhouette black for no reason whatsoever. And at least at one point, part of Knuckles' face disappeared, and it started his dreads cropped through his own head.
Oh my
so
God,
it looked like he had weird walrus teeth. Except they were red. It was. I know I posted a picture somewhere back in our chats.
I have no face and I must punch.
I do. Yeah, I did not have. I know y'all talked about you had a couple you fell through the world on some of the special stages. I do want to talk about you brought it up earlier. This does seem to take the what they were going for in Sonic 4, at least episode 2, of these are new and I would say, okay, comparatively unique takes on Sonic level staples. I will say off the top of my head, I like Bridge Island for being a new Green Hill, but that is not Green Hill. Somebody, I can't remember who pointed it out somewhere online, but someone pointed out Lagoon City might as well just be an 8-bit Sonic level, and I really like it. I really like that Lagoon City seems to be very much inspired by the Master System Game Gear games.
I think a little Aqua Lake, maybe? There's a lot going. It's like an advanced version of that. I really like it.
Yeah, I think that part of that is just the addition of, the bubble gimmick from that stage.
Yeah, and y'all tell me, what are y'all's issues with the stage layouts? Because I found them to be fairly, it does remind me of Sonic CD, which I ironically, or was also, I believe, stage designed by Oshima. I don't know how much he had input on the stages on this, but I thought it reminded me a bit of Sonic CD, where the levels are quite large. Before I started replaying them, my first playthroughs, yeah, man, I thought I was going to get a timeout until I realized that going over 10 minutes does not kill you in this Sonic game.
Yeah. And thank goodness for that, because like you said, these are some long stages.
Yeah. I can only speak for myself. There were only a few where I was like, man, this is really too long. That came more in Trip Story, which is its whole other thing. You go ahead, Faulerro.
I just feel a lot of them do drag a little bit, but for the most part, I had the most fun with the levels themselves, because it wasn't at least not until the later version of the game, it wasn't nearly as reliant on stuff like bottomless pits and whatnot. There were some in some places where you'd think there would be, but for the most part, I thought they were fairly forgiving. Just a bit drawn out, but it's mostly once you get to the end of the level that I'm just well, I'm going to be here for a while.
Yeah, it is encouraging to go into the time attack mode, which, just if anybody doesn't know, cuts out all bosses. It doesn't make you fight the boss when you're doing time attack.
Oh, so it's a good version.
Yeah. Well, to see that the example times are like the maximum, I didn't look at all of them, but the maximum one was like 5 minutes. And even then, like the example time, they expect you to go under that. So I feel like there are, it's just more difficult to, because the levels are larger, to get like, hey, you know, the above path is not always the quickest path. And it just does require like some practice, which, hey, we have definitely said about the classic games is the point of classic Sonic, is to get good at the game so you can go fast, not necessarily that you are going to be going fast when you first pick up the game. So I really like that.
Unless you're RockTheJake. Because he always goes.
I do a lot of the levels that really stood out. I was surprised to see so many people down on Golden Capital. That was kind of one of my favorites, because if you get both shields, you can get a blue shield and then a magnetic ring shield, which I thought was interesting. That only attracts rings. It does not protect you from a hit.
Yeah, so it's not a shield.
Yeah,
yeah. You can finish both of those acts with like 800 rings.
Oh wow.
I really like that one, but
one thing I like about Golden Capital, it's got those fun little suns and arches from the old Naoto Oshima concept art for Sonic 1.
Oh yeah. I like how it also has the gosh, I guess would you call it like the rotating columns, like your character curls up in a ball and like goes up and down. I guess kind of like in Carnival Night with the, you'd grab onto those things. However, I like that you can just straight up control the character going up and down. Like they're not making you like, okay, you got to wait for it to go up and blah, 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 and it was more, they were able to do some more like precise platforming with that, like, oh, go up here and hit this and hit that bonus bumper and whatnot. And the levels, I really like most of the themings. I think there are some that are pretty obvious, like, oh, okay, this is like someone I know I saw someone say, like, it might have been one of y'all, like, oh, okay, can we go to Sky Sanctuary? We have Sky Sanctuary at home, and it's Sand Sanctuary.
Yeah.
What was funny is what was the one that was Sky Temple is more of the Sky Sanctuary, but then there's Sand Sanctuary, which just has a name.
Yeah. I like that there are several stages that are just one act. Yeah. Like Sky Sanctuary.
Sky Temple.
I like that, but maybe my old classic Sonic brain is like, well, we should only be getting these near the end of the game, and then like a few zones before that will be like, here's 3 acts on this one. You love that in Sonic 1, and granted, the in between act is usually a character specific one. Which is really usually interesting.
That gimmick too, yeah.
But sometimes it does mean you spend a lot of time in these levels, and maybe that's what makes people sick of them. It's like when you're getting like, oh well, I've got to do Golden Capital is really good, but that Knuckles act, I think, goes on quite a bit long, and it requires you to do all of Knuckles' like climbing and gliding and stuff, and it does drag a little bit. So maybe you're spending a bit too much time there, and that's why people are getting sick of it.
Yeah,
I did want to interject. I did think it was funny that the Knuckles act in Golden Capital is intentionally set up to be the one where at the end Fang steals all the Chaos Emeralds you've collected from Knuckles.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you did our boy dirty on purpose.
Hang on, what was your actual...
Yeah, I was just wondering.
I was talking about the Animal and Badnik designs are really cute. I just collected the Chaos Emeralds, so I'm like, oh, the super theme is really good. And then I had just finished Golden Capital as Knuckles. I am watching the cutscene where he steals them, and I said, wait, no, my emeralds! Fang, you And I promise y'all, it was in real time. I'm typing this as I'm watching the cutscene. Jeez. So yeah, good experience.
We had some fun reactions with this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting in that act in particular that they did a lot of Knuckles gliding and climbing puzzles. I kind of like that there were a few points where when Knuckles is climbing on specific walls, they start crumbling underneath him. I think that's something we haven't really done with Knuckles climbing sections before. I think that's kind of cool.
I like how the character's unique abilities do feel a lot like the original games. Like I remember, I think I first beat Sonic 3 and Knuckles with Tails because like, hey, Tails is flying makes it a little easier. And I think that works in this one too. And Amy is also a great addition because, man, she's got that double jump and the hammer spin that I think gives her a little bit more invincibility, at least jumping on some enemies that have like spike balls, but does provide just a really good, like, hey, if you're having trouble with some levels, just pick one of these characters that has some advantages and work your way up.
Yeah.
So a few things. I really enjoyed that some of these zones have one act, especially because when I was first playing Sky Temple, because I played the first run through as Sonic because I'm basic.
Oh, I did too.
I did too.
I was very adamant. Like, nope, I got to do it as Sonic first, and I'll replay it with the characters.
Oh, I thought I was going to do that, but then I was like, nah, I'm just going to bounce between them on zones to have a little fun with everyone.
Yeah.
So just to make it more of an adventure, since it's supposed to be all of them going
true,
on,
yeah.
I suppose.
Which I do think that's where the character acts shine, where you're like, oh no, this is, Amy's act. Like you can only play as Amy.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's a really good idea.
But I like that some of them are like just one act because me personally, I don't hate it, but I'm not a fan of Sky Temple, honestly. And when the first time I beat it, when I found out it was just one act, I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to spend any more time here. I think I did enjoy Golden Capital as well, just from like the aesthetics and some of the gameplay elements in there. My favorite stage out of all of them, or my favorite zone out of all of them for sure, was Cyber Station, just because of the lasers that you can run through that transform you into like it's still 3D, but like the like 16 or 18 or 8-bit like polygonal versions of you. It looks so cool. I love it.
It is very cute. I also like that level. I think that is also an example of Cyber Station, good level. Love how it looks. Very colorful, the design. I like I guess the implication is like you are literally going through Eggman's computer.
Like in Shadow the Hedgehog, the game.
Yeah. I was just reminded of that watching a video. I do think that is an example of where some of the stage gimmicks maybe overstay their welcome or just kind of half-baked because, yes, cute little 16, like retro pixely characters are great. Didn't really enjoy the sections where you turn into a jellyfish or a mouse.
The mouse ones, man, that was horrible.
The mouse one is the worst because I've literally played that exact gameplay thing in like Shantae Half Genie Hero, and the big difference with that one is you can go backwards.
Yeah, you have to climb up a pipe, and I feel like this is in a lot of retro games, and like you have to pick the path that is going to get you to the top. And the first time I did it, again, hand to God, I got it in one, and I was like, oh, a cool little section. And then as I'm replaying it as other characters, I'm like, oh, you get hit and you fall all the way back down, and it's kind of hard. Like, I will say, when you lose your rings in this game, they do give you a much bigger window to grab at least one, and thank God. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it replaying it. And again, like the little jellyfish section was also a little like, this is a little too twitchy. And I'd also compare it to the 0G laser mazes in Egg Fortress. I'm like, cool concept. These take way too long, and there's way too many of them. Yeah. Which is also my main criticism of Sonic Superstars as a whole. Yeah. is mostly applies to the bosses. But before we get to the bosses, what about these special stages?
I like them.
What do y'all think?
This is why I'm talking about them. They are original.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are very original, and I would argue a lot easier than before, which makes sense because in this one they really want you to use the emeralds.
Yes.
That first one is so easy to pick up, actually. So they're just here, take this.
The emerald special stages are, hey, speaking of Spider-Man,
yeah,
it's basically web swinging. Also speaking of which, it's not unlike now, of course, I haven't played Rise of Lyric, so I don't know how it compares, but it is kind of like the the electro grappling hooks that the characters have in Sonic Boom in looks. But you're basically swinging from blue spheres in the first one, and also there are other like launchers that will send you like rocketing forward or bouncing up, and you're chasing the emerald, and you're basically swinging around and avoiding running into like architecture. Yeah. And when you get close to the emerald, you can just kind of lock onto it and grab it. And I would say they're not piss easy, but not that difficult. The one with all of the launchers that send you straight up is the hardest.
No, that one. You need... Yeah. Jackie actually worked out the trick to that. You've got to go in reverse.
That's what I did.
Don't chase the emerald. Go the opposite way the emerald's coming. That's the trick, and then you get it.
That's exactly what I did.
After you collect the emeralds, you can replay these to get medals, which you use in the only for the robot customization thing, which is
we'll discuss that more later. But
I'm just a daggone freak, but I kind of like the bonus stages, which are just for collecting medals and rings that are based on the Sonic 1 as well.
Oh man, they brought back the Sonic 1 special stages? I never would have imagined that in a modern classic Sonic game.
But I mean, again, it's not Sonic 4. I actually like these. They're pretty challenging to where, again, they're completely optional. You literally don't have to play them at all. But I found myself jumping into like, let me see if I can get a perfect in this one, collect all the rings, get some extra medals. But
get that Knights, Mecha Knights robot parts, which I got.
Ooh, I didn't even know about that.
Pretty cool.
But I really like the special stages in this one.
Yeah, I think that the Sonic 1 inspired ones are fun, and like we said, the other ones are super duper easy, but the big reason for that is because the emeralds actually do something now.
I mean, aside from make you super, which they do.
That's still there, but if you only collect one or two, you still get some use out of them, because they now each have an individual power.
Yeah, you got wisp powers in this. Well, not really, but that's what it makes me think of a little bit. They're kind of little gimmicky things. What was the first one's Avatar, right?
Yeah, first one's Avatar, where you get to give Sonic an anime profile picture.
Yeah, Kage no just like our fanfic predicted, Kage no Bushi no Jitsu. Sonic makes a load of Sonics.
Sonic was hanging with his boy Naruto.
You're welcome, Internet. So the blue one gives you Avatar, which is the one that creates a bunch of Sonic copies that run around on the screen and will, grab rings and destroy stuff.
Oh, excuse me, not to interrupt. I do have to say, when they revealed this in some of the trailers, I marked out, because I mentioned, I can't remember what episode it was, that this is like an old Sonic fanfic thing that like, each emerald grants an elemental power. Yeah. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, yes!
Yeah, it's not quite that in the end, but...
No, I mean, you kind of, sort of, you can fudge it. Like,
you're welcome.
Yes.
The red one being like a fireball, but yes, go ahead. Let's list these off.
Okay, the second one is the red one that turns you into that uses bullets. So it's like it's kind of like the fire shield, but in any direction.
Yeah, you can basically stop in space and just be like, pa-choo, pa-choo, pa-choo. I actually got some of the most use out of this one.
Yeah, this one was super handy, especially for if you like see something above you and you want to grab it, or you like miss a jump and you need to correct real quick. So that's a really good one to have on hand. Purple is vision, which reveals like hidden objects and platforms.
Not that useful, honestly, unless they like, there are parts in the game where it just like dumps like a little thing in the corner saying, here, use it now, use this one now, I've loaded it up for you.
Yeah, that is one thing I like, is that there are spots where it will flash, a possible, like, it'd be like, hey, you can use this power here to do something cool. And I like that they give you the ability, they'll do that, and then you can just hit X to use the power or whatever button and be able to immediately do that without even having to select it.
I will say the purple one, what they should have done, and I mean, we can go into it when we're about to talk about the bosses. Purple one should have been like, hey, this is the boss's weak spot, because there are several bosses where you really can only hit one area. So yeah. Free idea.
Or laser eyes.
Laser.
Yeah, so moving on from the sunglasses for Sonic Adventure 2, the fourth one is the Cyan Emerald, which is water power, so you can move up waterfalls.
Yeah.
Really useful in just water parts. And the rest of it, it's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's good for swimming up the waterfalls in Bridge Island, or to like freely swim through the water in Lagoon City and do like a dash attack underwater.
Oh man, Sonic can finally swim, guys. It's happened.
Today is gonna be the day.
Something that I did not find out until much, much later is that it's also, you can use it to not get crushed by things like Impress.
What?
Oh,
yeah.
What? I should have known about that.
That's super cool.
I didn't find that out until like yesterday.
Oh man, that's so cool. You get to take Bruce Lee's advice at last.
Water, my friend.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I do want to point out that I don't think the majority of these powers do not grant you invincibility while using them.
They don't.
You do have to be careful, which it can be a little frustrating if you're underwater and like, oh, I'll use the water power and like, oh, there's a bunch of spiky guys and I hit one. But
now it's gone.
I do think ultimately that adds to it. Like the powers are useful, but they're not a free a free win button. Except super forms for the most part.
So fifth one is the Green Emerald, which gives you Ivy power, which creates a vine going upwards to get to high places. And, Sonic can climb up that and go to the bonus world where he can dance on the vine and then get all the coins up in the cloud. Wait, no. Nope.
No, it's pretty good for, there are several like, hey, use the vine here, and like, oh, there's a coin or a special stage.
Yeah.
But also good for like, you missed a jump, you're playing as Sonic, you can't climb, can't fly, and I use the vine to get up to the higher level anyway.
I guess I'm just not sure why I would use the vine when I could already use Bullet to get that same effect.
Well,
that's cool.
If you've already used Bullet and you can't use it right away, you have to hit a checkpoint.
That's true. Checkpoints are
something. The star posts actually give you something this time.
Yeah, they refresh your powers, which is I think that's a good way of balancing to make sure they don't overuse them.
Because you don't have lives, you just
that's the thing to know.
And that's going to be a very good thing later in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is the green one is perfectly vined.
Sonic had to do it for the vine.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Oh, there are going to be children listening to this who do not get that, and that is, this podcast already hurts me.
Let me
sometimes.
redo my read then. Sonic had to do it for the vine.
Speaking of which, the next one goes TikTok, I believe.
Yep. The sixth one is yellow, which gives you.
It's yellow.
I'm so glad we have our own joke we can inject
Finally.
in these moments.
Thank you, Inspector.
Yeah, sixth one is yellow, which gives you the slow power, which is exactly what you expect. It slows down everything around you so that you can get through like all these like fast moving things, which, sometimes I feel like even using slow, the window is particularly tight.
Yeah, especially in Egg Fortress Act 2, you still gotta run real fast.
Yeah.
And I do like, it's less less chaos control, less Zaworldo, and more like Guldo from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
It's more
It's just
Sonic in the movie again.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this is not the first time this happened, because we could use that same power in Secret Rings and Generations.
Yeah, times. What is it called? Is it called Time Stop?
I think it's called Time Break.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's probably on the docket for this year, huh? Storybook games. Anyway,
we'll see. And then the seventh one is both the most and the least interesting. It is character-specific powers that varies based on who you're playing as. So when you use the Gray Emerald, because it's a controller.
I knew someone was going to say it, man.
Because Sonic gets his homing attack, of course. Tails gets a tornado spin, which fires off a little tornado projectile. Knuckles gets his punch attacks. Amy
Finally,
gets
he can punch.
Yep. Amy gets her hammer throw that she had in Origins for Hyper Amy, and then Trip can spit out little Mario fireballs.
Yeah.
And trust me, they are. That's not an exaggeration. They are straight up Mario fireballs.
They are. Can I reveal something embarrassing?
Please.
I forgot to look at the powers with all of the characters except Sonic and Trip. I'm just now realizing it, and I feel like a dumbass. But I mean, like you said, it's. I feel like I didn't even realize Sonic's was the homing attack. I think I used it several times against bosses, and that was useful. But there were some times I was like, oh, I'm going to try, Sonic's thing. And like, oh, it sent me straight into an enemy and it didn't hurt it. So maybe I just got discouraged. But
yeah,
they're pretty cute. I think they're poorly telegraphed.
Yeah, I don't think that they have a lot, aside from like, maybe being used for bosses to make it a little easier to get that hit in or take them out from a distance. They just don't have a whole lot of utility in the stages, unless I'm hoping I'm going to be proven wrong and that somebody has found a way to completely break the game using them, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I feel like it's forgivable when they probably sat down to say, okay, we're giving the Emeralds powers. We got to come up with them. If one out of the technically 8 is kind of a dud, Yeah,
I guess it's a little more forgivable when you consider that it's always going to be the last one. So you're also going to be getting your super form at that same time. So it's like you don't even mind that particular one is useless because you've got the thing you really want.
And I will say, I think I've said it during our Origins discussion, I am perfectly okay with the fact that Sonic is kind of the only one that has a quote unquote real super form now.
Well,
I just wish. Oh yeah, man, spoilers. I just wish they'd give Tails his damn flickies back.
They should.
They should.
I mean,
yeah, the spoiler, which is technically a story spoiler, is Trip also has a super form, and she turns into a cool fucking dragon.
Yeah, she gets abused by Fang. It's gonna keep happening. Sorry, everyone. She gets abused by Fang throughout the whole game. It's really horrible. There are little cutscenes where she's crying, and she actually makes noises. Actually, she's the only character who gets to make little character noises. Did you notice that?
There's a very cute moment in Amy's level where
that's
one of my favorite levels. By the way,
it's so good.
Women helping women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Pit two bad bitches against each other. I'm glad to see them.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's great. But yeah, and finally she's sick of all this crap. She throws off her really cool, cute helmet that we've seen throughout the game, and whoa, she looks cool. She kind of has that sort of general kind of I guess lizard look that characters have in Sonic as established by FPO.
I mean, she's got a very Oshima design.
But then she's like, oh, by the way, here are all the emeralds and I can turn super. And also I'm a baby dragon. Yo, watch out.
It's a very unique design. Again, very Oshima. But I mean, I feel like as weird as it is to say, it doesn't exactly throw out giant lizard. It's a little bio lizardy. Am I stretching with that? It's cool. When it first happened, I was like, whoa.
She has a different play style as well when you actually get to play as her, which you can, sorry, we're spoiling it, but yeah, you do get to play as her in her own little campaign, and by that point, if you've got all the emeralds, you can just turn to super on the first act.
Yeah, you can.
So, and when you play her, she's got a different play style as Super Trip. So, she's basically...
She's got full flight.
Yeah, but she doesn't she doesn't speed around quite as much as the other characters because she's kind of a cumbersome dragon character. So that's kind of the balance of it. But it is funny. They do have lots of little custom animations for this dragon, and they look very cute sometimes. But there are times when she's zipping around on there are parts where she's zipping around as fast as possible because you're jettisoned across a place, and all of a sudden she turns into a golden orb of light because I guess they didn't animate that. Kind of like when Sonic turns into regular Sonic spikes when he's super. It's that sort of equivalent.
Yeah, in some of the classic games. Yeah, it's very cool. It is a little cumbersome because she does not move as fast as other characters, but it is super cool. I very much take the fact that it's so different and unique to where it's like, and she moves a little slow. I cannot stop thinking of a sketch that I saw it on Tumblr first, where he's known as the Amazing Ian, and he's all over social media. The writer of The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, but did some funny little sketches of Fang and Trip, and one Fang is just kicking her in the butt, and there's a word bubble, and Fang's just going, "Stupid liberal lizard." And I cannot stop thinking of that.
I do want to drop in here real quick and say that after playing a good bit of Superstars on my Switch while we've also been talking, I gotta say, I think, unless my eyes are just not good enough, I really do think that it's actually playing at 60 FPS on the Switch with very minimal frame drops. And this is in portable mode, not TV mode.
I do need to mention one level in specific. I believe it was the transition from Frozen Base to Egg Fortress.
Oh yeah,
where
boy.
they straight up just do a level that is Fantasy Zone, like the old Sega game. Like,
yes, straight up. And I believe I need to look at the big list of composers. I believe the composer for the music for Fantasy Zone may have done that track. He's in here.
I believe that's right.
Yes, I again kind of like this was an even bigger moment than like, oh, the pinball in Sonic Frontiers. That's cute. This was like, whoa!
It's like this is like Mean Bean again, like in Sonic Mania.
Yeah, but like going the extra mile because they actually made like, Eggman versions of all of the enemies and the first two, all the enemies from like Act 1 of Fantasy Zone and the first two bosses.
Yeah,
this registered me a lot quicker because I'd actually played a bunch of Fantasy Zone on like Lost Judgment, I think it was, because they had like the Master System and like and they had like the arcade version of that. It's just like, wait a minute, I'm doing an Opa right now.
Yeah, I think that's even what I said. Forgetting the name of the game is not Opa.
Opa. Now, by the way, worth noting, one of the cool little things that they do for this is
I didn't know about this until you told us.
So every single character has their own unique Eggamobile that Tails repairs. So Sonic's is based on the Sonic 1 that Eggman is always in. Tails' is based on various ones in Sonic 2, like usually I think like the helicopter one and stuff like that. Knuckles' is like the one you instantly recognize from Sonic 3 because it's the one that Sonic gets to fly in Launch Base Zone. Amy's is like based on one of the ones from Sonic CD, her debut game. It's like, I think it might be the Tidal Tempest one, which is an interesting choice. And Trip just straight up gets the Angel Island boss from Sonic 3 because it's cool.
That's super cool.
I love so
I had not noticed that. Yeah, there are a lot of little Easter eggs. I hope people find more. The one I saw going around recently is there is some way to trigger, and again, I don't know if it's a glitch or an intentional Easter egg, some way to trigger when Sonic reaches top speed in, I think it's been done in multiple levels, he will for like 2 frames turn to the camera and pull out a chili dog like, oh, and it works with his other skins, and it's so funny to see people like, wait, what the hell, and go back and slow it down and
see,
too fast.
See, the Easter egg I think of is in Pinball Carnival. Yep, there is totally a Tails style cameo. You're welcome.
yeah,
not in a trash can as we predicted, but he's there. By the way, Pinball Carnival is a really cool, maybe derivative kind of stage that we've seen before. But Act 2, it's a spooky level, and I love it. So
yeah, I really liked Pinball Carnival. It's like you said, derivative, but I mean, who cares at this point? It's a really good pinball, like casino night style level. I really like it.
Just if you've got a clown phobia, like a few of my friends don't play this one.
Yeah.
I want to say up front, the biggest thing with these bosses, they're very kind of like Sonic 4. These would feel much more at home in a Sonic Rush game because they're more of events than classic Sonic bosses where you can just, hey, you can tank 8 hits on the boss before in the first 10 seconds. You can't do that with these. The vast majority of them are like, oh, the boss comes on screen. It starts doing a thing. You try and hit it. It doesn't register until you realize, oh, I can only hit it at a certain moment.
They are way too scripted in a sort of like modern Sonic games often tend to be when it comes to bosses.
That's the perfect thing. They're too scripted. There are some that are different. I really like the giant animal bosses that are, again, reminiscent of like Sonic 2 8-bit.
Yep.
I think those are probably the most solid ones. But the plain Eggman bosses, or Egg Robo bosses, if you're playing Trip Story, which is a cute little touch, most of them are just not that fun. There are some with cool designs. Just looking at an overview of it, like I like the one in Speed Jungle that's like, oh, it's invincible and you have to get it to hit itself.
I like that one, yeah.
Even then I'm like, but you have to hit it too many times. That was the thing I was saying at the top. Like, hey, if you, and most of the bosses only take 6 hits, but still, if you cut the required amount of hits in half, I feel like most of these bosses would feel a little bit better. But they drag on too much. And I know we also talked about this before, like, I know they probably had to balance these with 4 players in mind, which is not something we have been able to do ourselves yet. I don't have 4 controllers for my PS5 or 3 other people in IRL who would want to play this with me.
By the way, all that stuff about crossplay, it's only crossplay between Steam and Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for not communicating that, Sega corporate, which, hey, that's what I'm going to end my discussion on, with my frustrations with Sega corporate again. Yeah. But aside from some nice designs, most of these bosses are just, they take way too long. Like the phases, cut the hits down or cut the phases in half, and that would really help.
Or just leave an opening. Like, I was dumbstruck that, I'm playing as Super Sonic or Super Trip or whatever, and like I'm literally hovering over the boss's weak spot and nothing is happening because it's got to go through whatever animation or whatever, and it's a solid 10 seconds between points where you can get a hit in, like even when you're invincible.
By the way, speaking of super, if you're super when you get to the boss, you lose your form because it's got to do a funny little cutscene where your character's in the normal form. So you're going to have to reactivate it before the boss actually
starts. Better hope you still have more than 50 rings.
Yeah.
If you don't, you.
Yeah.
And it really is a shame, because I think the 2 coolest bosses are probably Fang in the Golden Capital and the Cyber Station boss, which is actually, well, it's a Metal Sonic boss, but if I remember correctly, it actually takes your custom robot that you've been collecting robot medals to customize and puts them in the role of Metal Sonic. But they just take too damn long. Again, the phases are too long, and if you...
And it's got a fake out as well, so you're just like, well, I've got to wait for that one now too.
And there's no checkpoints in the bosses, so if you mess up in the last phase, you get to go back and do the whole thing over again, and that is just my main problem, is the bosses take too damn long. Lots of people got stuck on the final bosses. There's the Egg Fortress, which is a big Death Egg robot style boss, which is pretty cool. There are a couple of things that are just kind of cheap that, again, no checkpoints, so go back to the beginning.
That's the thing. Like, Egg Fortress is a really interesting level because, it's a big Death Egg style like level. You get to the end and you beat the mini boss, and then Eggman...
There is actually no mini boss.
Oh, that's right. I thought there was a mini boss.
I thought that, like in my brain I thought that, but then I got to it and it was just like, oh no, it's just the little, it's just the checkpoint, the goal marker.
Yeah, and then Eggman or Egg Robo comes in the back and you're like, whoa, the sands of time.
And then suddenly you are going back to the same level, but in reverse, as things are like, things that break are restoring themselves, things that appear are disappearing. It's a really
very cool visual.
Yeah, it's great visual, really cool in concept, maybe a bit difficult in execution.
Yeah. I think it works fine. Again, going back to, it's those 0G laser sections that just completely bring you to a halt, and they're too slow. And I know they're getting you, they're teaching you how to do it, because there is a section in that final Eggman boss where, like, oh no, he turned the gravity off. I gotta dodge these Toho bullets and get a hit on him. But still, Like, you don't need more than one of those sections to teach the player that. It just takes too long and, kills your momentum. Like we said, even using the time stop on some of the sections where the ground is falling off from beneath you still might not give you enough time, and you're like, okay, I guess I just run as fast as I can without, collecting anything, etc. But it's little things like that I really do hope can be tweaked in a quality of life patch.
By the way, that final boss for the main campaign where you're playing as like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Amy, the time is it counting up or counting down? I don't remember.
Counting down.
Down.
Yeah, it's still counting down by the time you get to the boss.
Okay, so I feel like I know this for at least one of you. For when it counted down to 0, did it kill you?
No.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I thought that was just a thing for me where it counted down, and I was like, wait, am I supposed to die
here?
Oh, great, I get an extra chance. But no, I guess that was just a thing in all of the versions of the game. That's good, because that boss takes forever.
Yes. I think it does because I remember... I don't remember what I did. I think, I don't know this for sure. I did laugh and think, oh my goodness, the retro engine lives on. I did in Egg Fortress Act 2 get crushed by a rising platform that I didn't think should crush me.
Yeah.
Not unlike, Sonic Mania, where there were a few like, wait, why did that crush me? But it didn't happen consistently. And like I said, I did laugh. But I think by default, it starts counting down from 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
But yes, it does not kill you if it hits 0. Because I thought that too, going into that last boss.
I thought that was a glitch in my version. I was like, oh, this is a good thing that happened to me. That's what I was talking about earlier. Turns out it's fine, but the boss is still mean.
Yeah.
And I will say a thing with the bosses that I don't know. It might just be my classic Sonic instincts. The bosses want you to use your emerald powers.
Yeah.
And in fact, I know both final bosses, both Fang and the Eggman Egg Fortress boss, there are several parts where like, oh no, you can get an easy hit and skip right to the next, the next phase with certain powers. And I will encourage people like, just fuck around with those powers and see, see how much they can help you in
it's worth noting that, there's no checkpoints during these bosses, but during, like, at least for the final ones, when it switches to the next major phase, it does refresh your powers.
Yes, which is also a godsend, which is also why they should just go back and make the phases checkpoints. I'm sorry, like,
yes,
just save your time and
absolutely,
and make it so, you fade back in. Oh, it's the second phase. Like, come on. Or make it an option. Like also the options in this game are woefully like minimal. Like I don't know what. Yeah, I exactly. I don't exactly know what I would want, except like maybe, I don't know. Yeah, let me turn on more checkpoints or something like that.
It is telling when it turns out there actually is a secret debug mode in the game, and it's just sound test and stage select.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah. So I think we all at one point got very stuck on the final boss, which is Trip's final boss, which, hey, at the end of the main the main campaign, you finish as one of the 4 default characters. You unlock Trip as a playable character, and also she has her own scenario, which is basically
hard
Knuckles'
mode.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard mode, and it's Knuckles' scenario mode from Sonic and Knuckles.
I mean, down to having Egg Robo be replacing Robotnik.
Yep.
But worse. It's all the levels are designed to like take advantage of her abilities, which are basically like a combination of everybody's abilities when you think about it.
Yeah,
having her like climbing up the wall with her spin attack and everything.
And I cannot tell you how much I love that her spin attack is vectors from.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a ring roller.
Such a good touch. I don't even know if I noticed that the level layouts were different until I got about halfway through, and it does start to get harder, especially Golden Capital, where I was like, oh, this one's fun. As Trip, there are much more traps and less ring magnet upgrades.
Well, I thought Golden Capital was actually pretty easy, but that's just because I went super and then just took it. I took advantage of that and ended up with having like hundreds and hundreds of rings by the end of it to make sure that I stayed super for the rest of the stage.
Yeah.
Although here's the thing about super.
I do think it's interesting that also Trip gets to play through all of the previous character exclusive stages as well.
Yeah, It's a
cool.
little silly when you get to Amy's and you don't have her hammer to hit all those big pieces of fruit, but it is still cute that you get to go through all the levels.
Now, here's the thing about the super. Usually you'd be like, oh, this is the way to get through this because this is driving me nuts. I'm going to turn super. Me and Luke were on a call together not too long ago, both playing our own individual parts of the Trip campaign. And I remember you getting up to the pressed factory boss and being like, okay, I'm going to go super. That's going to solve this. And then you got crushed. Because that boss is so mean.
Yep. Yeah. Like I was telling Chris during the same call, I am pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that they balance Trip's story in a way that's like, we know you have super mode. We are going to make sure that you can't use it to abuse things too much. And I know that because there's a point in Trip's Egg Fortress version that you cannot clear unless you have super mode.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's like right at the start where there's a big old gap and you can't cross it unless you use super mode to turn into a dragon and fly across.
I don't think Trip's story unlocks if you don't have all the emeralds, does it?
I don't know. I had all the emeralds by that time.
Same here.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I've said, I mean, someone feel free to correct me in the future, but I don't think it, I mean, I know the final boss does not unlock without the emeralds, but I thought Trip's wouldn't unlock either, but I could be wrong. But yes, if you don't have the emeralds by the time you're tackling Trip's, like, come on, man, what are you doing? I gotta say, I did want to point out, I think, is the frozen base boss, the big bird I mentioned already, is that Trip
the
exclusive?
pterodactyl one.
Yeah, that is Trip exclusive.
Oh, wait, really?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I was going to say, I fought against that as Sonic, but it was harder with Trip.
Oh, why am I blanking and not remembering that?
I'm on...
Oh, yeah, I guess you...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm on...
It's been a few weeks, lads.
I'm on Sonic Retro, and they have a screenshot of Sonic going against the pterodactyl.
Yeah, no, it's right there.
Yeah, no, it's just harder, and I really struggled against it with Trip.
Wait, I see why. It's because we can choose to play Act 1 or Act Tails.
Oh, okay.
That's what throws you off.
Okay. Yes, because I did that, because making me, my brain is already Swiss cheese. I did not remember playing against this boss as anybody but Trip the first time. And I actually think that this is like one of the only bosses because you're running on treadmills the whole time. And again, it feels more like a Sonic Advance 2 Sonic Rush boss, but this is one of the ones that I had trouble, I did not do my first time, but I was like, nope, I'm going to get this because it's not, it feels fair. I really like that one. And special shout out to the Golden Capital mini boss, which is the giant piggy bank. Yeah. I really like that. Like it's you if you do Golden Capital, you might have like 800 rings by the end. The boss steals them all, and then you have to hit it to get rings. And then once you finally defeat it, it dumps like all of your rings plus some.
Yeah.
It's just cute.
I cannot believe when I fought that boss, though, I became the prototypical Persona 5 fan. It's like, getting real Persona 5 vibes from this boss because there's a giant piggy bank. I'm just like, come on, Faulerro, you're above this. Gonna hear jazz music in the next stage and I'm gonna feel the same way.
You'll never see it coming. The groan.
We were leading up to, I know we all in our own special ways got stuck on the true final boss, which is Fang trying to murder poor little Trip. And
Jesus, piss, this fight is mean.
I did the thing that Chris suggested where I can, use the fake out to make sure that I keep super formed, the rings don't run out. And I did it, and I went into this fight with Trip in super form. The boss's attacks still one hit kill you in super form.
Yes.
And that's one of the things which ruins this for me. It's not like classic final bosses didn't have one-hit kills in a way. Like, usually it's just falling off a stage or whatnot. But having lasers that just immediately kill you, having corks that immediately kill you, I guess this is almost like... I almost like interpret this as Fang the Sniper being like, oh, what? So you think my cork gun is really weak, do you? Wait till you check out this, by the way.
I don't. I've played Sonic the Fighters.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people... I mean, we know.
We know.
As frustrating as they are, I guess I do at least appreciate that the one-hit kill lasers are kind of a reference to the Sonic CD Metal Sonic race, where it's like, oh,
yeah, but that's like something that's coming after you. They fire these bastards at you.
Yeah, it does come after you in the the Sonic Course and Speed Jungle. It kind of plays like that. But no, the one-hit kills are frustrating. I feel like I went into this with the best preparation because y'all had already made it through, and I looked up oh goodness, multiple people, but there was someone who was like on Twitter just posted a couple of videos of like, hey, I'm going to walk you through how I beat this, and like showed all, just a little mini walkthrough. And going in with that knowledge, I still, it took me maybe about, I want to say like 5 or 6 times. No, I think I got it on my 4th try.
Oh, that must be nice. That must be so nice.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you, Jeremy. I'm so happy you didn't waste all your time on this f***ing weasel, Jaboa, whatever the f*** he is.
This is why I wanted y'all here, because I was about to say the insane thing that I kind of had fun with this boss once I got the hang of going through the phases.
You are a pervert.
I am. I love blue spheres, and yeah, I am a Sonic pervert in some way. A sunk cost fallacy. What is that? No, I kind of liked going through the first phase. I still wish there was a checkpoint to the second phase. But because y'all were talking about the one-hit kill lasers in the first phase, and then, hey, Knack jumps into his giant mecha, which you think, oh, Trip destroyed it, we're not gonna see that. Nope, here it is. It's a Death Egg robot, but it's a big f***ing stupid Fang robot. It's great. I love it.
So I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'm glad we got to see that. And then, like, several tries later, I was like, I never want to see that thing again.
And yeah, it sends out reticles and then fires like electro webs that hold you in place, and it's almost impossible to get out of them, even though people are like, oh, you press the button and press down. Poor
you can
Jake.
At first. You can at first, but immediately soon after.
You were trying to help with your advice, and I was like, no.
I just, when I got caught in the nets, I just went crazy with all the buttons and the control sticks. I'm just like, smash.
Yeah.
It was never enough.
No.
At this point, yes, I would say no. You should not be super if you have the rings, but because with Trip's double jump, I did manage to get into a pattern of baiting the reticles to, like, as soon as they hit, like, they confirm and those are where it's going to be, I would jump out of them and then just freeze, like I stop. And then he can do it up to like 5 times in a row, and I pretty consistently, like, if I got caught in the webs, it was my screw up. And again, I know people hate this boss and got stuck on it. And I do think the one-hit kill in the second phase is super stupid. Even if you manage to get the time slow power going to where you can watch it, if you get hit up into the air, there's no way you can get a hit. And it's not the final hit. When I finally survived it and got a hit, I was like, that wasn't it? Are you kidding me?
Bullshit.
I still need to hit him like at least 2 or 3 times. And again, that goes back to my biggest problem is just the boss takes too long. But I wanted to be the one person out who said, like, hey, I actually kind of had fun with this boss once I got like everything you needed to do.
But like the whole thing, sorry, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this boss because it is a sticking point for so many of us. Gosh dang it. But like the whole thing is like he fires out so many of those nets and you're like legging it along the stage because the whole stage is like circular. You're going around in a loop. And if you go too fast, you end up meeting the nets again. And you're like, well, guess I'll just die.
And then that window gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the fight goes on.
I will say, the one thing I like about it is, I hate the one-hit KO, but it is very funny that you get fired right into the screen and the screen cracks.
Yeah, it is.
And I thought it was hilarious. the first couple of times.
The first time. I mean, it literally does the Smash Brothers, ring out, and you're like, oh, poor Trip. And then, of course, Fang is laughing in his cockpit. His stupid little listen. I got you. It's my one-hit KO. You fuck
My Second Amendment.
yeah.
Oh, man.
So I got stuck in it for a while too, and then when I finally stopped being RockTheJake, and I actually I joked about it in the chat, but like I did the thing that no Sonic fan wants to do. I slowed down and I was patient. And so some of the things that helped me was like, I guess out of all of us, I'm the only one who actually got out of the nest, because maybe it's just something about the way the Switch controls are like physically next to each other, but I was able to mash enough where I was able to like hop out.
I do think, because I did get out of them a couple of times, I do think the timer as the boss goes on, the amount of time you're trapped in the nets just gets higher and higher to where it's impossible.
A few other things, like when he's doing the target reticles to shoot out the nets, I realized I should stop running and I should like let them circle. If they're going to be on me, I need to jump sooner. But if they're not going to be around me, I'll let them fire and then I'll jump over it. It's funny, that same call where I was like with Luke by myself for just a little bit. I was trying to do the final fight with Knack. I said it too with Fang.
We're gonna do it. We're old. Sorry.
Hey, we're a bunch of classic Sonic fans. We've been calling him Knack forever. And his sister Nick with huge boobs.
With her Millennium Falcon that she stole.
But so it was funny, like when I was playing it on my own, when it came to like the missiles firing during the first phase, I would like get to the top of like one of the taller hills that you would get to in that circular loop, and I would like charge up a spin dash, and I would just let the momentum like carry me. And before I talked to Luke, I never had a problem. And then we talked about it, and he said he had a problem with that. And I was just like, I haven't had one. Immediately after that, I got hit.
I got infected by Luke's negativity. That's amazing.
I think I beat the stage after that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, equivalent exchange.
Yeah, there you go. And then I started doing the double jump to get over it. The thing that like, in the second phase, the thing that like killed me a couple times that like got me was like when he just like the head slam, and I messed up my timing and like my positioning. But then like, as I said, when I stopped being RockTheJake and I finally started being patient, I finally got past that, and I was just like, yes. And I will say, we're not talking about it yet, but the final boss, when I stopped being RockTheJake and got to be patient, that helped too. But the difference.
I feel like this is as good a point to move into talking about that as there is, because we've just finished talking about the other final boss, so now we have to talk about the other final boss.
Hey, look what! It's a big dragon, and we're not going to tell you where he came from. They allude to him, but it just sort of shows
it's
up.
Basically, if you did not watch the prequel short, then this thing basically comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. I watched the prequel short and then I forgot about it. I'm just like, oh.
There is actually a picture of him in Egg Fortress, like the same doodle of him is showing.
That doodle was what I took as an indication that you need to use dragon form to fly across this gap.
Yeah.
Oh wow. A couple little things. I do like that it's called Last Story. I might have gone, like Sonic Adventure.
Just like old times.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, okay, for a game like this, where the story is, it's there, but it is very classic Sonic. The fact that the thing Eggman was searching for was an ancient like dragon jewel that, seems to be linked to Trip as well. Like they don't really. There might be something in a manual that says like, Trip is from these islands, and she was escorting Fang and Eggman, and that's why she's not exactly on board with their plans, but was just trying to be a good person. I love how much is inferred about Trip's character with how she acts, how she wears her little outfit and seems very shy and maybe doesn't even pick up on it. Look, I don't want to like overanalyze the Sonic character, but maybe it's hard for her.
You're going to call her autistic, aren't you?
Yes, and I don't feel okay.
I do that all the time with characters these days. I can't help it. I'm just like, yeah, this character's coded autistic.
I very much relate to that, but I'm not like, look, I'm not a diagnosed person. I am not neurotypical, but I don't want to cross a line and be like, yeah, that character's autistic. And
yeah, well, guess what? I am diagnosed. I read into it too.
Okay.
Jackie got a full diagnosis. She's doing that all the time with characters.
And I see it with characters, and I'm like, oh yeah, and that I think it's super cool and a very cool thing to read into. Yes, like Trip literally does not pick up on like Eggman and Fang's like social cues and did not realize like, oh no, these are the bad guys. Like she was trying to like just help them, like, oh, they're visitors to this island, and obviously like yes, realizes like, oh no, these are not my friends, they're bad, and also they don't know what they're messing with because
I'm a Dargan.
I think it's also like, you know, again, probably reading too much into it, maybe not, but I think Trip has like serious anxiety because like when you look at where she's introduced in the comic, it's her, you know, holding up a spear to Fang that she's literally like shaking, holding, like shown, like shown very clearly, you know, out of her element, and then, you know, not being confident enough to stand up to Fang in the prequel short, and like when in the times when Fang gets stuck in the trap, that she's running around like, oh no, what do I do? And like even after you start playing as her idle animation is every once in a while she'll look at the camera, go, oh, and then put the helmet back on. Like so she does not wish to be perceived.
It's so cute.
Do you know what she's added to the title screen, like, and you wouldn't notice it at first because she takes her time, like, poking her eyes out. And she's like,
I love
I'm
that.
here. And then she realizes she's been perceived, and she disappears back into the ring. I love that.
this poor little anxious lizard.
We alluded to it, but didn't go into detail of, like, in Amy's act in, what is it? The Lagoon City. You know, you're hitting bunches of fruits, which I think is tied to an achievement and maybe some rings. But yes, you reach halfway through and find where Trip has fallen through an Eggman trap that Fang, you know, kind of pushed her into, and she's crying, and it is so adorable that Amy's just like, oh, come here, friend, like offers her a nice apple she found, and then she hops on Amy's back, and that's how you finish the rest of the level. It's so adorable. Also, like, so Amy Rose, like, man, I can't wait to we'll finally do an episode on Amy Rose, the character, to talk about how that stands out as like her biggest thing, that she is she's a saint.
She has a lot of love to give.
Exactly.
But we've learned a lot about Trip through this, like not just through the animation. If you just played the game, you would understand who Trip is, kind of. Like, there's a lot to go into, especially in the short when you see, like, you know, images of other people wearing those helmets. Like, maybe she's like a descendant of, like, ancient warriors from the North Star Islands. Whatever it is.
Guess who just found out about a little something from the Bumblecast? Basically saying, Trip is apparently the current guardian of the North Star Islands.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
And that is ceremonial armor that was worn by the previous guardians who used the Emerald
Checks out
powers.
to me.
Maybe they were one of the tribes. The Knuckles tribe was like, "Hey, we're gonna kill you all with our emerald."
And then they turn the dragons. They're like, "Lol, no."
Yeah.
And Chakamaka's like, oh, get the emeralds!
Speaking of big dragons, it's the big sexy dragon from Shrek. No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of.
A girl dragon.
It's the I was gonna say it's the big dragon from Mario Odyssey, but
that's what I thought.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it is a cool design. It is a giant, like, dragon in the Sonic style.
It is literally just called the Black Dragon.
Yep.
Yes. And it has, I've never realized until I looked real close, is wearing like armor pieces.
Yeah,
it's got some
very similar armor to Trip, actually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there you go.
Is some.
Sure would have been good to have some story build up to that, but
Yeah, it just kind of shows up. I was just like, all right. Well, there's a big egg. There's a big egg.
Yeah, it is a big egg.
So this is where I point out, like, sorry to jump ahead to some Sonic 3 discussion, but apparently there was a plan for there to be a big egg in Sonic 3 that supposedly in myth hatched a giant dragon.
Oh my god.
That was like early story plan stuff, but we got it now.
Hey, there was also supposed to be a giant dragon in Sonic Adventure that got cut very late.
Oh.
I'll just go ahead and say I have nothing nice to say about this dragon, so you guys go first.
RockTheJake's positivity finally ran out at this point.
Here's another one where like Supersonic bosses post Sonic 3 and Knuckles are contentious because they're hard to get right. I feel like very few, even games I like both adventures, I feel like the Supersonic bosses are pretty have a learning curve, although as far as comparing to Doomsday and Sonic 3, I still say Sonic Adventure 2 is the only one that nails that feeling.
And don't even get us started on Generations.
No, that one's not even a boss.
Hey.
Oh man. Hey,
I'll tell you what it is, though. I think it's a homing attack.
It looks like a homing shot,
guys. Yeah.
Boy.
Anyway.
I think this is slightly refreshing after Trip's final boss. This is not that hard.
Is not like... Jake is right here.
Go ahead.
Let's be gentle.
I'm glad we're all here.
It took me probably 30 attempts for the final Fang boss. It took me, I think, 4 for the Black Dragon.
Yeah.
Yep, I think me too. I had some trouble. Again, the biggest problem I have with this boss is the phases are too long. You need 12 hits, and there are some phases where you don't even get an opportunity to get a hit. Like, this is the boss where I'm like, it makes sense that you are waiting for an opportunity to get hit because Supersonic is invincible. His only weakness is you need to collect rings, which are just randomly raining down on the stage. But it just takes too damn long. Even if you are doing this boss perfectly, it takes 7.5 minutes to get to the final. Jake is seething, and while I am talking about how I like some of this boss.
Yeah, unfortunately, this boss will really drag on.
It'll really drag the rings out of Supersonic too.
Opening my window, jumping out.
The other characters, because this is a single player only boss. There's no way to co-op this, I believe.
Nope.
But the other characters do fly by occasionally, dropping rings. It's so funny. You hear a little engine noise, and here comes Tails in the tornado. And what you want to do is touch the character to get 10 bonus rings, and then collect the trail they're dropping. And then if the very rare occurrence, I only had it happen once, that Amy or Trip come by on Amy's riding a giant Wiki. Oh, we didn't even mention the giant animals.
Oh yeah, the giant animals are really great.
Big chunkies.
I want to hug them. They will drop item boxes with 10 rings each, I believe.
Interesting. I don't think I ever saw Amy or Trip even once during mine.
Yeah, I never saw Trip. I saw Amy once, and it's adorable. But
they took mercy on me, like when I was in the final really annoying section where you can't get rings otherwise.
Yes, that is the part I had trouble with. Because there are, I think it's pretty cool how the boss will come rushing at you, and all of a sudden it switches to a horizontal view, and it's basically like, it's Doomsday. You're dodging.
Just like Sonic Generations.
Oh. I guess, yeah. Except not as bad, I would argue. But the part, and now that I've played it several times, I think the part might have been my user error. I know I sent y'all a video saying like, the game, it's not working. What is the game is broken? I think it might have been me, but there is a point at the very end, and it's not telegraphed well, so I won't put that on myself, but reticles appear, and you're having to match them up when, it's almost like a rhythm game or like a homing attack. And if you want to tap the button when they line up and then let go, you don't want to hold it or it'll eat your input and it'll mess up the next one.
Yeah.
But that's for the last hit. You have to do several of those, and then it goes to the dragon fires a big laser at you.
Star Fox.
And then you get one more reticle. Yeah, it does feel a little bit like you're dodging those lasers in Star Fox. It's not
I was thinking
hard.
about like the boss in 64, like right before Venom. That's like the big disc that shoots the lasers at the screen.
Yeah,
man.
Watch out, Fox.
Watch out.
Yeah, and then you have one more reticle for the final hit, and
which I kept missing.
I feel like they should tweak the window on that.
I know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, see, Mister.
Look, I played I played a lot of Elite Beat Agents back in the day.
Yes, that is what it feels like. But overall, I think it's a pretty fun supersonic boss compared to a lot of others. It's just too damn long. Cut everything in half. Cut the phases in half. I would say that for all the bosses. But
yeah,
and then you get a cool, animated cutscene. Trip is there. She's holding up the big egg. Maybe this is implied to be like a guardian deity that's just or maybe it's the opposite and her people sealed it up, but it doesn't really matter. It ends on a really cute, like, again, if you haven't watched the prologue cartoon, which I hope they patch in there, like the fact that they put the Sonic Mania adventure shorts in Sonic Origins in like 4K resolution. They really should do that with this.
I wish they had done that in Frontiers too with the Knuckles prologue, but
yes, come on. Again, Sega corporate. We're gonna have words, but yes. Now I want other people to talk about this boss, including Jake, who is about ready to unleash his full rage.
I've kind of said my piece. Jake, please, you have the floor.
No, if anybody else wants to say anything, because I'm gonna rant.
I mean, Jeremy covered it all. It's long. But I guess coming after Fang, I was like, nah, this is acceptable. But I'm sure you just...
the Jake rant is a positive rarity. I'm eager to see where this goes. Please, you have the floor.
Okay. All right. So I will begin this by saying that in this final boss, I probably made some stupid decisions over and over and over and over and over again. So I will fully admit that I'm probably to blame for the fact that I had to play this boss literally probably more than 30 times. I'm not kidding. I hate this guy. I hate him. I hate him. I want to smush him down, and I want to get a hydraulic press and make a video of smushing down this dragon in a hydraulic press and then make millions of YouTube dollars to redeem this boss because I hate him. Okay, so here's one thing. We've already talked about, like, not just this boss, many bosses, but especially this boss, waste so much damn time. And one of the things I complained about, in the first phase of the boss, he has the stupid vine spiky rock thing that happens throughout there. And it wastes time because there's no damage to you. You just break them apart. It does nothing. It doesn't impede you from taking rings. It doesn't take away your rings. It just wastes time. And I understand. I've had time to think about this. I'm sounding like a conspiracy nut at the moment, but please do bear with me. I've had time to think about this. I understand. It's a boss fight. You have to do certain things to make it challenging. But there is a difference between challenging and just wasting your stinking time, like the stupid vines.
Yeah.
And then I understand the trade-off of, like, if you use the charge, you lose some rings. Okay, I get that. But the freaking black holes that he shoots so many freaking ones, and you can find a way to, like, ease in and out. You can even, like, slow down for a second to make sure that you don't go right into one. But sometimes he hates you, and he wants to just shoot them in ways where you can only just charge from one to the other, and you're like, okay, cool, I've got 50 rings. Great, now I'm down to 20 because I hate this man. And then and then in the both the first and the second phase, he does like his, like, I'm going to curl up into a ball and, like, go across the screen in crazy ways. That takes too long. If it was just a few, that'd be fine. But, like, he does it like 5 to 7 times, and it wastes time. And I'm sick of it. And
if they just did it once, but all of these attacks go on for at least 2 or 3 rounds. And like you said, because the easiest way to get through this boss is to ignore all of the attacks, except the black holes that kill you, and just gather rings the entire time. Just ignore, because you take no damage, but just gather rings, just try and avoid the hits, but it doesn't matter if you get hit. Like you said, they are just kind of wasting your time.
And so, like I was joking earlier, when I stopped being RockTheJake and I started being patient, I, like, because, like, the whole, like, the first, like, million times that I played this stupid boss, I would just, like, go around like, near the top of the screen and, like, try to get, like, a trail of rings behind me, stop, let it all collect and stuff like that. when I finally started being patient, I'm just like, I'm going to stick to one area and like just kind of like either do figure eights like Jeremy told us in the chat once, or just like kind of go back and forth. Did really well with collecting rings, and I think I was in a better position to catch up with mostly Tails and Knuckles. The only time I ever saw the big blue flicky was during one of my worst runs on it.
Yeah. It really feels like a lot of the characters and the rings are RNG, just random.
Yeah.
And there are even certain points where like, oh, here comes Tails, and the boss changes perspectives.
I hate that.
Before
I hate
can get the rings. Yeah.
Because, like, especially there was times where I was like running low on the rings. I'm like, oh, thank God it's Tails. I hate you. Why? Perspective. Why?
Yeah, it does happen.
and like with the perspective things, I'm fine with the perspective change. The timing is awful sometimes. I actually kind of wish the black hole stuff happened in the second part, because I feel like that's a proper escalation of difficulty. But at the same time, I'm thankful for the fireballs in the second one, because it's like, okay, those are big, stupid things that I can just dodge easily. No worries there. And then... Yeah. And like when I finally got to the point where I actually beat him, I realized there was like a couple times in the past where I got so close to beating him, and the only reason I didn't beat him was because I ran out of rings. I hate this boss. And I am not a person, just in general, I'm not a person who gets angry. I'm not a person who gets super frustrated. And I'm literally just shaking a little bit recounting this boss. And I don't like it.
Literally.
And I'm gonna
right now.
So yes, I'm finally done ranting. Screw this boss. Put in the clip right now.
Freaking die.
Yeah. Oh, we heard it. I was like, wow. I've never heard this from Jake.
Yeah.
You'd think someone just shot Mina the mongoose. He's that mad.
See, that is why I'm glad we decided to do this episode as more of like a round table and not go through it. The minutia.
It's too long.
Yeah.
Because yes, I want those differing opinions, and I'm really gonna feel like an asshole for saying like after making it through this boss, I probably played it about 2 or 3 more times just to make sure I got it. And I was like, yep, I'm pretty good at this now.
Wow, what a good boss. No one will ever have a miserable time with this.
It did at least allow me to give like, I hope my advice helped, where I was like, oh yeah, like kind of doing figure eights up and down helps the ring spawn, I think. Yeah. And then, you have to have, I think, at least like 20, 25 rings once you make it to the last part, if you do it perfect.
Yeah.
And
I think the winning time, I did have like 30 rings at the end, which was super helpful. And I did for one of those final rounds, I did like a combination of Chris's advice and your advice, Jeremy, because there was a couple times where I did hug the top, and there was a couple times where I was like staying in one place or like doing figure eights or stuff like that. I need to stop talking. I need to calm down.
Yeah, you take a breath, Jake.
Okay.
You stop being RockTheJake and you started being Rock the Dragon, and you destroyed that guy. And
Dragon Ball.
Come get me.
Okay, now it's my turn for my conspiracy theory rant before we start wrapping this up, because I feel like we can't properly address. First of all, we can't go for another hour and a half on just this because we could.
I know what you're gonna talk about. Can we very, very briefly talk about the multiplayer, because I feel like that's a big selling point.
Yes, because we did get to do some of that.
Yeah, we did. Me, Jeremy, and Jake did get to do a little bit of multiplayer. We had to play over Parsec because, again,
we did Steam Remote Play.
It was Steam Remote Play. Excuse me. Either way, crossplay is only for Steam to EGS, which is again dumb. But we played a little bit of it, and I wish it was better, because it's like, I don't know how they're determining which character the game focuses on, because I feel like it jumped around between the three of us as we were running, and it didn't always like make sense who was being prioritized, because it wasn't always the person in front. And people can spawn back in and even like change their characters, but I think that takes away their rings, and it's like it just didn't feel good. Like they're trying to do like the new Super Mario Brothers thing, but it is so easy to get ahead of the other characters. They just fall off the screen, have to spawn back in, and that process doesn't always feel good just to get them back in there. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird how they select like who the camera's going to focus on, like you said, because like it could either be like they focus on somebody who goes ahead and then like the others fall away, or like somebody gets ahead of everybody else and then they just like the camera stays on the rest and they fall away. So I feel like that's something they can patch later on, thank goodness, but like it's just weird.
That's a bummer.
I know definitely because my connection is famously not very good. I also like didn't really enjoy the multiplayer, but I would hopefully I think I will ask somebody to sit down with me and play some local co-op and see just compare like how that feels differently. The other thing we did some of the battle mode, which we have mentioned. You play as your customized characters, which you instead of it's similar to the coins in Sonic Origins. You collect medals throughout the game. You use them in the shop to buy parts for your robot characters.
I hate that because it takes way too long to get enough medals for one part, and then also like when you use paint for that part. It's basically the paint is basically consumables. Like once you do that, you have to buy. Yeah, it's a one-time use. The paint is permanently applied to that part, and you have to buy another piece, like can of paint, to apply a different color to that part. And it's like it's
dumb.
I mean, it's realistic when you think about it.
It's realistic, but that doesn't make it good.
Yeah, I will say that at the very least, and again, we've said it's a very low bar to clear. They didn't do the nakedly evil thing that several other game publishers would do and allow you to purchase medals.
Yeah, no.
I could easily see that in something else. But no, it is, I mean, at the end of the day, it is completely optional. It's just for aesthetics. Like we said, your little robot does show up in cosmic cyberspace for that boss. And also, you can play the battle mode, but all the characters play the same regardless of cosmetics. They have Sonic's moveset, I believe. But it is very cute. It's very cute to see like official designs for a metal Tails, a metal Amy, and a metal Trip.
Yeah.
And also we mentioned you can unlock. I'm still not sure how you unlock all the parts except from...
Yeah, Metal Knights is the only one that require... Like, all of them are progression except for Metal Knights, which is you have to play the Sonic 1 bonus stages and get all of the rings on any one bonus stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pretty easy to do in some of the first ones.
Yeah.
And I've unlocked several like patterns from, I think, getting achievements and or playing Time Attack. It seems pretty random, but I mean, again, it's all completely optional. Yeah. It's just a fun extra thing. But yes,
I did play it like actually over the internet with a few people, and that is actually like a decent way of getting medals, because it's like if you place first, then you'll get 10. If you place second, you'll get 8. So, that's
nice.
Like if you're not playing locally and you're actually playing online with people, like that's a decent way to get medals.
As I've said before, I'm a broke bitch on console and I don't have PS Plus anymore. So
nor do I.
But yeah, it's. Oh, sorry. I was going to say the customization is pretty cute. I'm pretty sure it was I think it was Bobby Schroeder managed to make a pretty cute bunny rabbit with the posts and the paint. So yeah, there are some neat combos you can make. But I, again, not only broke, but a basic bitch. I just made all the metal characters and made sure to paint them correctly because... I'm sorry. Maybe I love little metal Amy's like metal eyelashes in her like eye display, whatever you'd call that on a metal robot.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it when we were playing together, but the battle types in multiplayer remind me of it's basically like Sonic versions of Fall Guys. Because like you have races, you have like survival. And the other ones in here are Zap Scrap, which is players compete to score points by shooting each other with bullets. So shout out the Hedgehog. And then
it's more like electricity beams. And if you can collect them up and get one super Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
Big blast.
And then the last one is Star Snatcher, which is just, collecting stars and whoever has the most. There you go. I dig it. Like the multiplayer is not something I'm going to go back to a whole bunch, but it's fun enough for me where I wouldn't mind trying it out a couple more times. I actually, I had a friend come over one night, and she and I did play couch co-op with it, because I had her play the first few levels on her own to get a hang of it. I think she played as Tails, which I think that's perfect for like a beginner who doesn't play much Sonic.
Hey, just like Sonic 2.
Yeah. And then later on I got to drop in as Sonic, because that's one of the cool things. Like it's like New Super Mario Brothers. It has like the drop in, drop out. And while you're on the screen, which we tested this when we were playing, you can drop out, and then when you're ready to come back in, you can select a new character before you hop in. You're not like stuck to Knuckles or Amy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
That was pretty cool.
Good functionality.
Well, just like classic Sonic games in general, the multiplayer is there, and I'm glad it is, but I'm probably not going to play it.
Yeah.
So, true experience, really. Yeah, like, so we've gone the whole episode without talking about the elephant in the room, the very farty sounding elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We previously we discussed this before, kind of. Sonic Superstars was announced. We all were a little bit concerned when we heard who was leading the sound on this game, but then we heard little bits of music, and we were like, oh, you know what? It's fine. It's probably going to be really good all the way through.
Okay, so I have this is not my own theory. I'm not going to put the person on blast who I got this from, because I don't want anybody to be a weirdo to them. But, okay, so the sound director for this game is Mr. Jun Senoway.
We love you, Mr. Senoway.
Yes,
we love so much of what you've
Yes.
done. We respect you and appreciate all of your contributions to the Sonic franchise and the Sonic soundscape. You've done so much. What the
The worst part is, it's like Sonic 4, where the compositions are good.
Yes, and there are, okay, I'm counting them. Give me a second. 19, 20 if you count both sound directors. There are 20 credited composers on this game.
Wow.
Including T. Lopes, including, I know there are several, like we said, legendary composers from here. Like we said, there's the same guy who was did some tracks on Frontiers.
Yep, there's Tatsuyuki Maeda, who we talked about in Sonic 3D.
Yes, thank you so much.
Takanobu Mitsuyoshi, the Daytona USA guy. Kenji Mizuno, the Frontiers guy. The Yakuza guy, Hidenori Shoji. Like, what the fuck?
Yes, there are lots of fantastic compositions, but however, you get to a certain point in the game, and I say certain point, okay, the level select, the options are, I like the compositions, but it's that Sonic 4 synth, man. It's the exact same. And okay, we're not going to spend this whole time, the last part of this episode talking about, Mr. Jun Senoway, why you use those synths. My completely unfounded, no evidence except my Swiss cheese whole brain is that they ran out of time.
I believe this too, because we have heard some early versions of the tracks that were released, and they sound a lot like some of the other finished tracks that are in the game, and I feel like those were placeholders, and some of those are too.
There are Sonic 4 music, there is literal Sonic 4 placeholder music in the game itself that is just dummied out. It's
there was Sonic 4 music. There was Sonic 4 music in like gameplay footage for this game as recently as like a couple of months before release.
Yes. Yeah. So my theory is that Mr. Senoway laid out compositions for these artists as a placeholder. Use that Sonic 4 FM synth, whatever it is, to just lay out the, hey, this is what it's going to sound, but I'm going to give it to y'all, and y'all are going to finish it up. Which is why there are the best tracks on this game. I would have to go look, which I don't think we have an official soundtrack release scheduled yet. No. So we don't actually know all of the tracks, but the ones where I know it's T. Lopes and Jun Senoway. They did the opening, they did the super theme. It's the leitmotif that goes throughout the whole game, like Sonic Mania, like Sonic 1, which was, that was the other guy. Sorry. Even some of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, those are the best ones, and they're finished and they're great, and you hear They're just fantastic. I love it. But then you get to the back half of the game, and so many of the tunes are just this FM synth, and you're like, what happened?
Dude, you get to the bosses. Like, you're hearing some amazing T-lopes is popping off, and then you get to a boss, and suddenly, oh, there's that Sonic 1 snare. Hi, June.
Yes. And so that is the only way it makes sense to me, is that they ran out of time. I don't know if I'm not even going to say, because again, this is an unfounded theory. It's just the only thing that makes sense to me. If Sega has, and this leads into me bitching at Sega corporate again, because I've noticed I felt like we were getting better with this, with some things. Like they've made the lore team, the director of lore and creative strategy that involves, Mr. Ryan Hamlin is the head of that and incorporates, Ian Flynn and all these other people. And there's Sonic character supervisors like Itaro Toyota, who's also doing a lot of the writing on the Sonic Channel Japanese website. And it feels like we're getting to a weird part in the 90s again, where Sonic Team Japan and Sonic Team America aren't talking to each other. And I wonder, is that part of what this is? Is there some like unknown, and I've said this before in our Frontiers, like, is there some like evil person in Sega corporate that we just don't know? And that's why Mr. Izuka takes all the bullets for this guy, and he's the one saying like, nah, you only got 6 months to do this, and you gotta put all these levels in it, and whatever, we'll fix it after it's done. And oh boy, now I'm the one shaking a little bit because I'm so frustrated. Like, I just don't understand like how that could happen. Like, if Sega has the integrity in their nutsack, what they will do is when they announce patches for this game, they will patch in the finished music. Now, I don't know if they, again, have the integrity to do that, to admit. Like, they don't have to admit it. They just have to say, like, in a patch notes, like, oh, adjusted music on, certain levels. Because it really just seems like the only way that all of this wonderfully composed music by all these other people, this army of people, and then there's just these same plain synths that nobody wants to hear. Like, I just don't, I'm not going to lay that at Jun Senoe's feet, that he's some kind of like crazy person who like busts into the Wavemaster studios and saying like, everybody get the f*** out, it's time for FM synths. Oh man. Okay, I gotta stop there. Like I said, I'm blaming Sega corporate.
And I hope you're right, because I need to hear Press Factory Act 1 with some Jun Senoe-ass adventure era guitars.
Yes.
Yeah, man, come on.
That's what makes it nuts. We get to the end of, like, we get to Egg Fortress Act 2, and suddenly we're like, hey, I know that bass guitar. That's some Sonic Adventure Jun Senoe. Oh, you were there all along, June. Please come back. Come to us now. And then the game's over, and it's just like, well, never mind.
Yeah. And it was, and I hate to say, like you said, the regular boss music is not fun. I wish all of the final boss music was better too. It really doesn't.
They're pretty good, like, in comparison.
Yes. I'm comparing it to, like, I hate to say it, but comparing it to, like, Sonic Mania's final boss music. Again, Somebody pick up a guitar. Am I just being a boring ass white boy that loves his guitar? But I really feel like it could use some be bigger. Like, yes. Especially, I know this is supposed to be different from Sonic Frontiers, but man, talk about some final boss music. Come on, they need to be bigger, more bombastic. I feel like the music in the final bosses are even a little too quiet. And in the options, I had everything turned up, but oh yeah, I am Charlie Day on the yarn board. Pepe Sylvia.
I just feel like I'm worried that, like, that very generous theory that you had is just, like, not accurate at all, and I'm worried that it's going to be Jun Senoe just thinks, yep, this is good enough. This is, it's a classic Sonic game, we need to reel it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So, meow, 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 meow.
I just don't get it, man. Go ahead, Jake.
As far as my thoughts on the music, I like a lot of it. I definitely agree that, like, there are times where when it gets to, like, the old sounding synth, there's times where it just sounds not appropriate. It just needs something more. There's like a
Some of them are really good, though, aren't they? Like there are some really good Mega Drive sounding ones. As someone who on the podcast likes to mess around with Mega Drive sounds, I don't know if you've noticed
a little bit.
There are some really good ones, like Frozen Bass Act Tales. That's a really good Mega Drive sounding track. I don't know if it really, really fits too much for this, but it's not peppered with that Sonic 1 snare drum, so it's, I don't know, some of them are good. But then some of them just kind of... And I feel like some of them have actually had someone go in to be like, June, give it to me, I'm going to make it sound like a Mega Drive track. But it's still... I don't know. Sound Sanctuary's great, though. Sound Sanctuary's a real bop.
Yep. It's just so weird. It's makes so little sense that, that is why I'm bought into my own conspiracy theory that there just must be something going on. And like I said, my biggest piece of, usually the soundtracks get announced right before or right after. And unless it's changed by the time at this recording, I don't think they've announced a release for streaming or physical for the Sonic Superstars soundtrack. So that is my only solace that maybe they will finish some of these for a patch, or in 6 months when we get the DLC, and they'll have to put a big patch out for that. But yeah, it's just another it really makes me want to, like I said, I blame Sega corporate for the disconnect, for if they did run out of time, and it's just a weird feeling I have of like, no, I want to give Sonic Team the benefit of the doubt. We talked about, how One Way Dream and Sonic Frontiers is such a like, hey, we managed to make a good one. We've survived all this time and we pulled it back through. But, this is not a new discussion. Sega is a company that makes products for money. And so there is always going to be someone at the top who that is all they're worried about. So it's just really this. And like I said, the weird disconnect between America and Japan, where you have like I said, I can't believe there's like an entire, once it's done, it's going to be like an entire book of stories of character interactions that they've told on the Sonic Channel, calendar wallpapers that I believe are written by Itaro Toyota, who is like I've heard him described as like the successor to Maikawa, who wrote the scenario for Sonic Adventure 2 and like Sonic and the Black Knight. And he's really good. I really like the translated versions I've read of his work, but man, why don't we have an official translation of that? As much as I love my like Wendy out there doing translations of this stuff, like she's doing it for free for the most part. Like that, she ain't working for Sega. Why? Oh man, it's just a weird, frustrating disconnect, and I just wonder why it's there at all. And I really think we should now try and end on a high note, saying like the things we liked about Superstars again, because
there's good music in there. There is good music. I swear there's good music.
Yes, there really is.
You play it for a while and you're like, oh, this music's good. But, we were talking before about how, like, some people don't really like Golden Capital that much. I do think the music is kind of the contributors, because there is, like, a stretch of just, like, what sound like unaltered Jun Senue Sonic 4 songs, I hate to say. Yeah. They're not fully Sonic 4 ones, but they might as well be. And it's just... like, it does take you out of it. It did for me. But there's some good music. There's such good music. I really loved everything in Pinball Carnival. I adore the track that plays during Lagoon City Act Amy. That's like this lovely, cheerful little anime Sonic song that sounds like something from the old Buster Move Puzzle Bobble games. There are so many lovely tracks. It's just, oh man, like, what happened?
Yeah,
I think it might be the thing you said, but we don't know.
No.
And if the music never changes, I feel like maybe we'll never know.
And I've got to say, like starting to wind down, I think that whole like blood pressure spiking rant on the music might describe my feelings on Superstars as a whole. For me, that I am really high on the great parts, but you will just run into parts where you're like, well, that's not good. What happened here? Yeah. But I do say, I do stand by, I have been replaying the levels just casually. I started doing Time Attack. They're really fun. I very much enjoyed it. But yeah, the adding in other, I think we literally, pulling the curtain back, we've already recorded our next episode, which is on the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, which, whew, what a great little game. I don't mind spoiling that. But we had a guest on for that, and they asked while we were vamping, asked about Sonic Superstars. I think we all agreed that, like, look, man, Sonic games go on sale really quick. I think Superstars has already been through certain storefronts, like $20 off. Just wait and pick it up when it's that in its current state. Like, I would say, yeah, if you're interested in some classic Sonic, sure. I've had a lot of fun with it.
It's a great framework, but like they need to like really think about how they approach this next time, because like, you know, the gameplay moment to moment, you know, feels fine, sometimes really, really good, but some of just the stuff around it, and especially like some of the challenge levels later on, just
it's just kind of an inconsistent game, like all the way through, like even down to the music. And I was saying there are some fantastic tracks in this game, but sometimes it's not just going to the Sonic 4 stuff, it's going to like Bridge Island, you get like a very similar, like it's like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where you have like a variation of the first track, and then you go to Speed Jungle, and it's like completely different tunes, great tunes, but it's just like, man, I don't know, like you go from Bridge Island. In Bridge Island, you continue from Act 1 to Act 2, if you like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But then you're going, and then you're just, sorry, I have to get my words together. I'm honestly not as mad as I might sound right now. There are things I like about this, but then you don't have like the natural continuation. It like switches around whether it wants to be like Sonic 3 or Knuckles or not. It's not as, there's not as much continuity between things. And just from the fact that you get to use a world map to hop into whichever stage you want, which I find is convenient, but it makes it less of a streamlined experience like the old games were. And I like that it's different in its own way. I like that it's trying to be its own thing, but I think it makes the experience weaker as a result, because it's not really committing to being a full classic Sonic game. It's being its own thing, and that thing altogether is a weaker package. That's just my feeling on it.
So I will say this. I of course, I did not stop playing the game after the hellish boss at the end. And like once I finally got past him, once I finally beat the game, like I was happy to like go back, because like I really only beaten the game with Sonic and Trip, and then had done pretty much just the special character stages, which again, really love those. I think it's a really cool, especially like if you play the game just as Sonic at first, I think it's a really cool way to introduce a gamer into like, okay, these are these characters, this is how they operate, so now you can go back and try all the stages with them.
I would love to see that come back in a potential follow-up.
Yeah.
Or even more of those.
And like I said earlier, I truly believe the core of this game is playing as either Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Amy throughout all the stages, especially in couch co-op or Steam remote play or Parsec with friends. But of course, it's very much fun one player as well. And like at the core of it, I think it's still a very fun game. Like I have no problem, except for Sky Temple, because again, don't really care about that level much. But the rest of the levels, I'm happy to play. I like the designs. I like a lot of the music. I like the powers. I remember like, I don't remember which episode it was, but I remember saying like, hey, I think it'd be cool if each Chaos Emerald gave you a power. And then when we found out that Sonic Superstars did that, I was like, cool, they did it. But like there's like some wish fulfillment in this game for me. And like, I still very much enjoy it. I'll never fight that dragon again, but I very much enjoy this game.
Yep. Yeah. I am also like not going to get into my own person, because my personal situation is very much my own, where I was like, duh, if I'd known what I got in a different game. It's like, no, I mean, I would have gotten the Sonic game for sure. Like, yeah, not only just for this show, but because like, I mean, it's Sonic, like, and you know, Call me a huge mark. Like, it's true. But yeah, I still really like the very much enjoyed the parts I liked about this game. I will continue to play it. I think I might actually try and go through Time Attack, not going to try and get on those leaderboards, but it's another great excuse to like play through the stages with the other characters and do some things I might have missed. But yeah, it's, I can't remember if I've said this before, and I don't remember what game it would have been about, but it seems like a reoccurring Sonic thing to where I think we just all wanted this to be a home run, and this was more of like a ground double.
I think it's a 3-base run for me.
Yeah, that's going to need...
I have no context for any of these terms.
Baseball.
Yeah. It's a foot... No, I don't know any soccer terms, sorry.
That would not make it any more... I would not understand it any better if you used those, so don't worry about it.
I really hope... Hey, again, to go back to my complaining about Sega Corporate, I hope they allow them to continue to polish this game, to get some little tweaks out there.
I've got the analogy. It's a Studio Dean anime. The foundation is there, but the execution needs work.
Oh, come on,
boy!
I think that's a bit harsh.
Have you watched Tsukihime?
Sonic Superstars does. I mean, dude, I watched the Higurashi anime back in the day. I think that's a bit mean. I give Sega a bit. Well, I'm gonna have to percolate on this one.
To finish my baseball analogy, it's going to need some help to make it over home plate to get that run in. Yeah. And I hope they allow them to continue working on this. Sonic Origins just had a seemingly another final patch out of nowhere to fix some lasting last little issues with that.
Oh.
So
I'm so happy for Tails he gets to be in Labyrinth Zone now. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm so bad for Tails. I'm so sorry.
Again, where I'm pretty sure I made it through all that and didn't encounter that bug. But again, I think that was a later bug. There.
Like,
Gotcha. Anyway, I think we all wanted this to be a home run, like just, hey, it comes out, it's great, and instead it's more complicated to that, which, hey, to go back to the very beginning, it's not exclusive to Sonic as a franchise or even as a video game, but Sonic has been more troubled than most, and because he's old, he's been around for more than 30 years, and so... Anyway, yes, all that to say, I enjoyed a lot about Sonic Superstars. It's just, man, I wish some things were different.
Yep.
Sure do. I wish it was... I'm not going to say I wish it was Sonic Mania 2, because this technically fulfills what I wanted from a Sonic 1, like a follow-up to that. And we got a really lovely new character, and we got some good new music tracks, and we got some... times to remember and many ordeals to overcome, and well, isn't that just being a Sonic fan?
So. I got some good audio of me being really angry.
Yeah, we got that for the first time.
You don't see it often.
I am very much looking forward to like this world being fleshed out in the future. Like, oh man, we didn't even mention that the right after this got released, they announced a Fang miniseries at the IDW Comics, and those have been all of those classic stories have been so solid, and I can't wait to see Trip again more. Like I hope she is not banished to this one game realm. I hope she gets.
I don't know, man. I feel like that Tails tube implied that maybe they might meet up with her in the modern.
I want to believe.
Ooh, see, now we're getting into speculation on, the barriers finally come down.
As they flipping should. Come on, I want to see Modern Fang as well.
Ooh.
Come on, let's give it to me.
An actual sniper.
I want to see this classic Sonic that's been around, since generations. I want him to see him go through puberty on screen and get those green eyes and lanky limbs, and we will see the full transition.
He'll pass through a big water monster, and the chaos energy will...
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, this is happening.
It'll be like Jack 2, where everybody's shocked that you can talk now.
Remind me not to piss you off. Oh boy. All right. I'm done. If anybody else has anything else to say, but I am ready to shut up for tonight.
I think I'm there too.
Sonic Superstars, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
It's a land of contrasts.
No, you know what? No question mark. It was pretty good. Like, very positively pretty good.
Just don't spend too much time on the world map, because you will hear those 8 seconds play over and over again until the end of time.
And wait for a sale.
No, yeah, please. No, like, we couldn't. We had to play this as quickly as possible, but do yourself a favor. Hey, you know what? It's going to be January by the time this comes out. Maybe it'll be nice and cheap.
Yeah, like a New Year's sale.
Play through the main story and don't pick it up again for a while.
Pace yourself. Pace yourself. You don't have to be like us.
That's just good advice in general. Don't be like us.
Yeah, don't make a Sonic podcast. Because you'll eventually, your calmest and most chill friend will get mad about something, and you don't want to go through that.
I mean, we just talked about a conspiracy theory, so now we're a real podcast.
Oh, that's true. And we got really mad about this. We finally feel like Sonic tubers, so good for us.
Go.
Good for us.
We're mad at video games.
I hate that it was made me play it. That's what it comes down to. But that's it, I think.
It sure was. So I think that's about as good a note as we could ever hope to end on, mostly because I just don't want to keep talking about this. So until next time, you can find me on various social media sites at CyberLink420.
You can find me on various social media sites under the name GameBuddy, sometimes with a 1, 2, 3, but I'm sure if you search up GameBuddy, you'll recognize whether it's me or some weird game software that doesn't really exist anymore. But yeah, you'll find me.
I'm sure you can figure out which one is me and which one is the DVD software.
Oh, I love that 2 of you have that problem.
And you're associated with chocolate.
You don't really have to worry about finding anyone else named Faulerro, I'm pretty sure, especially with the specific spelling of Faulerro across the internet.
Love that jingle. Although if you misspell it, you might end up with the chocolates.
At least you'll have a delicious treat.
Yes.
Either way, yes. You can find me on the various socials as RockTheJake, and as always, you can find me on Twitch, where I haven't streamed in a very long time, as Mr. RockTheJake.
You should follow him on Twitch and watch him play Sonic Superstars Last Story, as he will do for you.
You know what? I'll do that.
You're going to have a great... Yeah, we'll watch the first ever miserable Jake
Let's
stream.
do it. You know what? I can be a real Twitch streamer and get mad.
Yeah.
I'm noticing a trend where you're not real until you get mad.
I'll be there as emotional support, I promise.
Thank you.
I can't make that promise. And special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp and all sorts of other places. We'll keep the link tree in the description. And as always, please make sure to, rate the podcast, share it around. Just please help us get it out there, because if we're going to play more games like Sonic Superstars, we want to make sure that people are listening to us grouse.
If you share the podcast, you're a superstar of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the real superpower of teamwork.
But not in this game, because somebody will get ahead of the rest and they'll all just fall behind and disappear into weird voids.
Or vice versa.
Yes. Anyway, as for next time, we kind of already, let the cat out of the bag there. But yeah, we are talking about the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Woohoo!
Finally.
It's really good.
Kill him.
It's real
No
good.
compromises for this one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's great, and we're going to have an episode on it, and hopefully we'll also have a full playthrough of it on the YouTube channel as well. So
yeah,
keep an eye out for that.
Yep, we're working on it.
Yep, it's all in due time. But until then, I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
I'm RockTheJake, and this one's especially relevant for me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 87 times, shame on me. No, actually, shame on the freaking dragon. Kill him.
So you didn't have fun with that, boss. Would you say it was a bad dragon?
No. This has been also a We'll show on the other side.
freaking die.